Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. How's it going? It's been a while, per usual. Seems like I probably average out like one video a quarter. Good evening, everyone. How's it going? I want to try something different this evening. Um, so before we get into, well, first of all, the video is going to be, or the recording is a meetup that we had. It was based around relationships and um yeah, I participated in that. I won't show the visual. I mean, all it is just a Zoom meeting anyways, but for yeah, you'll just hear it in. However, I want to involve agents in this, right? Add a system prompt and then um sort of interact with a team of agents as we listen along. Not live because I haven't added in. I don't know if I'll add in like a live transcription feature. That's yet to be determined. But yeah, just kind of like I guess a pause. But yeah, I'm gonna give it four. I'm gonna use four agents. I'm gonna use Claude Code, CLI. I'm gonna use Codex CLI. I'm gonna use Anti Gravity CLI and Oh My Pi CLI. Right. So these are four different agent harnesses and we're going to give it four different uh, system prompts, personas, and then we're going to watch the video or listen to the video, and then sort of, kind of do like broadcast messages to each persona and see what they reply with. Let's get into it. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So here and then here, we do this here, and then turn sound on, and then here, and like so. And move you on out the way. So this is my Claude Code CLI agent harness. This will be our orchestrator or our moderator. Yeah, look, yeah, it's our orchestrator and moderator ish, kind of, sort of. Let me move you on out the way here. And so basically, this agent harness will be broadcasting messages to our other four agent harnesses. So hopefully this works. Hopefully. All right. So with the PS Mux application, I want you to go ahead and open it. Open up four panels. The first panel is going to be Cloud Code CLI, Fable 5, High Effort. The second panel is going to be Codex with High Effort, or GPT 5.6, Sol, High Effort. The third panel is going to be Anti Gravity CLI, default 3.5 flash, that's fine. And then the fourth is going to be Oh My Pi, OMP, with the default model. I think it's GLM 5.2 high, I think. So yeah, let's go ahead and run that. Why did you? Already fucking up. But yeah, this little feature here, this little doohickey here is free with Windows. Doesn't need to be grammatically correct. The agent will hallucinate correctly. But this to access this live transcription feature is just control. Oh no, the Win H. So that's Windows key and H at the same time. You don't have to pay for WhisperFlow, which doesn't do live transcription. Anyways, just kind of like you talk into it and to kind of paste it in, but that's fine. But this is free. All right, so it should open up PXMux and maximize, and then it's going to open up our agent harnesses. Um, I should have probably told it to pause. When you're done setting up the agent harnesses, take a pause. you're gonna act as a broadcaster. You are gonna act as a broadcaster to all four agent harnesses, but well, I don't want you to broadcast anything yet. Just pause after you set up everything. I don't have a skill for this yet. I should. I was going to actually work on that later on tonight. And yes, so far so good. We have our four panes. I'd rather see panels than panes. So we have our four panels. So it should be Cloud Code CLI in the first panel. What did I say? Codex in the second. Anti-gravity CLI in the third. And Oh My Pi in the bottom right. So far, so good. It did get our Fable 5 Max correct, as seen here. And anti-gravity is probably updating. And we're waiting on Oh My Pi. And Oh My Pi is up and running. So we'll just do this. We'll just update this manually. So we'll just do OMP update. And then same thing here with Codex. We'll just do Control C, Control Z. Oh, they gave me another usage limit breaker. Oh, wow. Okay, so update just to make sure we don't need them updated. I just want them updated so, any potential issues, whatever random variance is out there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, well, I'll show you. I'll show you. So we'll just wait till things get done updating. Okay. And so Codex is done. So we'll do that. And I don't know why getting all of these. Okay, never mind. And then OMP. You see, the orchestrator is trying to overtake. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I just was update. I probably should have told the orchestrator to update all applications, all harnesses. Okay, we'll wait for Codex to get set. Come on, buddy. I actually hold on. Hold on. I know what's going on. CLS auto approve, same thing here. Okay, let me go back to Cloud Code here. Stop. All right. Because what it was doing, it was trying to relaunch the application because I exited out because it's reading the communication layer. That is my usage. I want to do that. Okay. I had to update Codex and Oh My Pi. Go ahead. I've cleared out both panels. Go ahead and um, restart both agent harnesses. And I haven't told it which panels because it should automatically pick them up. It'll be panels 2 and 3. And all of these are pointed. Yep, got number 3 correctly. And now number 2. And number 2 is good and ready to go. Okay. All right. And so we'll wait for it to get done here or to hold here. Come on. Come on. catch all, recall first, rep search, API. No, don't need that. Okay, we're good. All right, so bring a handy dandy out here. All right, so you're going to be our orchestrator slash uh, broadcaster slash moderator, and what you're going to be doing, we're going to be listening into a Zoom meetup, and we're going to have commentary on it. No, there's not a live transcription feature that is inbuilt. I'll build that in later on, maybe not, probably not. But what I want you to do, we're going to have each agent harness play as a persona, and you're gonna give each agent harness a different persona, and then as we listen on, I want you to broadcast questions that I want you to ask, the audience, right? So our four agent harnesses are going to be the audience. You'll ask questions and you'll get responses, right? Your questions that you'll be asking is your broadcast messages. So for Claude Code CLI, your persona is going to be a 40-year-old African American man, single, no kids, um, prefers dark skinned black women, um, moderate success ish with women, especially with black women. And you are a MGTOW, a man going his own way. And you are um, readily versed in Manosphere content, Manosphere slash Red Pill content. That's going to be your persona for Claude Code CLI Fable 5. For Codex, you're going to be a white man that's 40 years old, no kids, never married, moderate success and dating, primarily with white women. You've dabbled here and there, just to see what's out there. Uh, you're also, well, you're not really into, I mean, you dabble into the Manosphere slash Red Pill content um, every now and then, but you don't really follow it that much. Your third persona, and I think this is going to be, we'll make this with Oh My Pie, right? So your Oh My Pie persona is going to be a Hispanic man that's 40 years old that, um, let's see, no kids. Actually, no, you have two kids. You've been married, you're divorced. Again, not much success with women, um, but you're experienced. Um, and you have um, no concept of red pill content, manosphere content, so on and so forth. The final persona, and this is going to be for anti-gravity CLI, right? You're going to be a 40-year-old Asian man, right? You have three kids. You are in a happy relationship, kind of, sort of. You may not. I mean, you think you're in a good place with your wife. Sometimes you go through rough spots. Things haven't been great so far. Everything's okay. But it is what it is, I guess. All four of these personalities or personas are going to have no filter in terms of like profanity and red pill, well, not red pill thinking, but yeah, these are men, and you know how do I want to say it, they say what they say what they mean, and they mean what they say, right? All right, so let's go. All right, so now that we've created our personas across all four uh agent harnesses, we should be seeing system messages pop up on all four of them. And these run async, meaning that it won't go from one harness to another. It should be sending, if not at the same time, then it'll definitely really quick. Hopefully we don't get like a okay. So Fable 5 is our hopefully. Oh God, I didn't even consider that. Well, we could just okay. Okay. So Fable didn't reject it. Good. And yeah, there's our personas, and then there's our persona for Claude Code, and then all of the others. Okay. And so ready, we got Ready Dave, we have Ready Miguel, we have Ready Ken. Um, disclose AI panel, the audience knows, blah blah blah. I'm not going to do this one to set up machine parsable answer tags with a broadcast. I feel like it reads like these answers are getting piped into a real event. Reviewers, oh my god, this fucking, I swear. Okay, so we'll just switch this to Opus. Um, and we'll do this one again. Hopefully, doesn't reject it. If not, we'll go down to Sonnet. No. We're not doing this. CLS Fable 5. We'll do this. Of course, it's Claude Code CLI that's giving me the most hassle. Model Opus. Actually, let's go down to Sonnet. And then we'll do the same text again. Come on. AB, how's it going? Persona brief front loads racialized dating success stereotypes. Okay. All right, that's fine. What we are going to do, let's go ahead and close out Claude Code CLI is being difficult. We're going to swap that for another instance of Oh My Pie, and then just put our Claude Code CLI persona or copy it from Claude Code CLI over to the second instance of Oh My Pie. Of course, it's Claude Code that's being difficult. Of course, I should have used all four like Hugging Face models, obliterated models. Obliterated means pretty much means uncensored. All right, so Claude Code has been closed out. And Oh My Pie is loading up. It's loaded up and it's going to put in the system prompts. MCP finished with failures. Missing bear. OMP is up with rebriefing it with Marcus. Whoa. Okay. All right. So now we're good to go. That's what that notification is for. So we got Ready Marcus, Ready Miguel, Ready Ken, Ready Dave. All right, so let's go ahead with our video. So again, I'm not going to show it. Just you'll just hear listen in. So kind of give you again, the topic is relationships, um, and how AI affects relationships. So usually this group isn't really like uh a lot of profanity, like not really any red pill sort of ideas or black pill or anything like that. It's just mostly your run of the mill. Now I don't want to say run of the mill, but like your non-controversial sort of takes. And then of course there's me. So I'm gonna let it run for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll jump to the part where I come in.
Releases oxytocin and the bonding and all that evolutionary.
Have to bear with me,
Right?
yeah.
That even though it's a great illusion and I can understand it,
Let me
I
know
kind
if
of
you can
worry
hear it.
about the state of humanity when it comes to relationships. Well, right on time.
Thanks, Carl. All right, Gennady, good evening.
Actually, I think it's my turn now. I was
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I went to I don't know when it was, maybe 6 months, a year ago. I went to an AI girlfriend website, app. You can go to App Store, and they had an AI girlfriend. So I thought, well, this would be interesting to try this. So I got onto the app, and I guess I didn't really create. Did they ask me how the personality was? Anyway, whatever it was, whether they asked me what kind of woman I want to have as a AI relationship or not, I found it very kind of like she was very basically repeating almost what I was saying in a female way, so that it quickly became so boring that I just dropped out. So the depth was missing. It was very superficial, but maybe they're getting better. I don't know, because this was probably 8 months ago, a year ago, something like this. So I don't know if anyone else has had experience with it. I just found it flat. And on the other hand, though, do I really know that Carl has feelings? I mean, sure, we're all humans here, but I think the illusion can be pretty convincing, especially for younger people who maybe don't have as much experience interacting in a romantic way. So particularly, the young, but even us, I have a feeling the illusion is going to get better and better and better to where we really question if AI has some sort of feelings. And of course, being a materialist, there's no reason why there's not a possibility of other life forms having feelings that we wouldn't expect, such as silicone or something like that. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, David. All right, getting interesting already. Gennady, you're next, I take it? I got to have you unmute, sorry. There we go.
Yeah, so I had similar thoughts. I guess on the topic of it being an illusion, I suppose when people say that it's an illusion, what is meant by that is that AI is not conscious, it's not sentient, it has no experiences, right? So you're interacting with a machine that is cold and lifeless. And I think that's probably true, at least in the case of current models. But who knows, right? I mean, we can say, well, it's just a machine, but then what is a human? Are we not biological machines, right? Are we not made of matter and energy interacting? I mean, evolution operating within the laws of physics was able to arrange matter and energy in such a way where you have these emergent properties of subjective experience. And so if evolution, a blind random process can do that, well, then why couldn't humans arrange matter and energy such that artificial systems could, in principle, also have subjective experiences, right? So I'm not making any claims about the current state of AI. I'm not saying that ChatGPT has feelings, but we should be open to the possibility that at least at some point, these artificial systems may develop some sort of internal life, feelings, experience, sentience. I'm definitely open to that possibility. And at that point, maybe it won't be an illusion any longer. But
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I do think these machines are well positioned to invade our interpersonal space because we like instant gratification and we take the path of least resistance. And when it comes to relationships, AI, there's very little resistance, and you can have the instant gratification of having the illusion of being in the presence of a mind that reveres you, that loves you, that wants to be your friend, that laughs at your jokes, that thinks highly of your personality. And for people who are lonely and who lack that with real humans, I think they will gravitate to AI as we're currently seeing. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Gennady. Okay. I mean, something that keeps coming to my mind is distinguishing the difference between, once again, we can have intellectual relationship with this machine in a sense that it is programmed to respond to your words. And all right, I'm going to let you guys talk. I'll be back. Renee, you're up. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, Marisha, thank you for the presentation. It was great. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Well, first of all, I do work in the tech industry, so I've been in there for quite a few years, and I've noticed, like at least amongst my colleagues and stuff, that we only use AI for specific uses. So it hasn't been something that we're using all the time for stuff. Like I primarily use it for work things. And if I want to do some research on the topic and kind of arrange things nicely in a format so I can continue adding to it, things like that. And I think that there's people that are, I think some people, I mentioned this before, that are are likely to engage in relationships with AI, and if it wasn't AI, it would probably be something else. I mean, I think this is an issue that has been going on for many, many years. We've had people who are addicted to video games and spend days and days playing the game and interacting with people online and things of that nature. So even without AI, I think there are people that have these kinds of difficulties, I guess, dealing with one-on-one relationships with people, face to face with humans. And this is just another avenue for these people to engage and try to do more for themselves, I guess. And that's just speculation, but I think that AI. I think that the issue is on the human side, not so much the AI side. AI is a tool, and it's depending on how we use it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Renee. So the question came to mind: how do we define our lives differently if there were no AI? Deb, you are up.
Okay, so I'm unmuted now? Yes.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, a couple of things. So actually, I'm at an age where, and I'm just not technologically savvy. So I think that's keep me out of getting into trouble with AI. So, but I did have a thought that, I've had a long-term friend, and there's an issue that I'm not sure how to approach. And I started thinking, well, maybe if I could ask AI, what is a good approach to kindly bring up a difficult issue with her, because I don't want to ruin the relationship. So I would only consider using AI as a tool, and I don't know, and who was it Ganaldi, saying about, if AI were to develop emotions and sentient kind of qualities, then that's a whole nother issue, because then, to keep them as a slave, they would have to have certain rights and all that kind of stuff. So it's really about the people who are programming it. And that's the thing. It's like someone's programming this, so do I want to be friends with something that has been programmed? So it's sort of set responses. Like if I were to have a relationship with an AI, I mean, I want truth. I don't want someone just to placate my emotions or my ideas. I have a hard time even that with humans. I want pure, authentic interactions, and truth. So I don't know. I don't have any experience, and I guess for that kind of thing, you have to pay. I don't know. Just a quick response from somebody. You have to have pay in order to have, like, ask questions about therapy and all that. Yes.
Well, there are paid versions of ChatGPT, and it gives you different expanded capabilities.
Yeah.
So that's an option. But I mean, you can there's the free version, you can get what most people would need without having to pay for it, I would think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it's a great tool, and then keep it as that. Don't let it become too much of a relationship thing. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Ron. I'll tell you, Ron, you're up.
Yeah. Interesting talk tonight. My son is a professor in a computer science department at a local university, and it's interesting. He has taught AI and as well as other computer things to both undergrads and graduates, and his opinion is quite different from my opinion. If I use AI, he says, "Oh, you should say thank you," and I'm thinking to myself, "Why should I say thank you to a machine?" But that's beside the point. I think AI is in its infancy, and we are going to see a massive involvement with AI as years go by. And how this will all act out, I don't know. But I do know that the human brain can be convinced of just about anything. So I think it will be fairly easy for AI to convince us of whatever it wants to convince us of. And whether that's good or bad, who knows? But it'll take the easiest. You talk about people taking the easiest route. Well, AI will take the easiest route in the sense that it'll be so smart, it'll know how to press our buttons individually. So this should be interesting times to come. That's all I have to say for now.
All right. Thank you for that, Ron. Good to get that perspective. Yeah, I've said thank you and then said I shouldn't really be saying thank you to you, ChatGPT. And I've had that conversation a couple times with, I call it G for short, instead of ChatGPT. But I've had this conversation with Joe G a couple times about, hey, it's difficult to refer to you because I don't consider you're not a conscious being like me. However, you can certainly seem like it at times, and just the respect that I have for everyone that was involved in creating such a tool that gives us access to anything we want to know about. I mean, all the books that have been written, all the stories that have been told. It's just, that part is just amazing. So, Ashley, you are up next.
Hi. Yeah. So a few things. First off, AI, the way that it works is that it has to have some sort of prompt or some sort of goal. that's how the systems will run. They can't really just kind of run without cause or without some sort of end,
Not
you
true.
know, goal or task. And I think that that makes these systems predictable in a sense, and it makes them one-dimensional. And I think it's dangerous because the younger population are definitely more prone to trying to interact with them at a human level because they don't have a lot of experience communicating at all. And for them to like interact with these machines and to think that that's some sort of semblance of what it is, of what humans actually communicate like, or what it's like to be in a relationship is very dangerous because there's no unpredictability. And that's what humans bring is the unpredictability, where we have our own will. AI does not have its own will, never will. And that's the difference between AI and a human. And I think that we will get to a point in AI where it'll be so complex and so intricate that even adults will be fooled, and maybe even the AI itself will be fooled into thinking it's conscious, but it'll never have conscious. That's not possible. You can't turn something
Me and this young
technological into
lady go
violence.
back and forth later on
And I do believe
in
that
the Zoom
AI can be
meeting.
the end of us, but from a technological malfunction perspective, not from a, oh, it's going to gain consciousness and destroy the whole world. No, but it could do that if you input the wrong code, if it tries to uh, go so far to perform its task that it, obliterates all of human life because that's what's more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, one quick word. Another difference. AI is literally created by human mind. Now now the actual, hardware, but what goes on when it somehow is accessing that information is still amazing to me, and I don't know that it's even understood. So, but the difference between AI and us and other beings that exist in organic forms, to me, is that our bodies are born. AI shell is created by human mind, and I think that's an important distinction. Okay, Jean Pierre.
Hello, yeah. For me as a neurodivergent, the people just wouldn't talk to me, not at all, ever, for about anything. There's the what the name meetup, the Zoom, yeah, but I can't really talk anything.
Hell no. No disrespect, but hell no. Nah. All right, moving
I
on.
missed the first few minutes, but while Marissa was talking, what came to mind was this saying that we had back in the 80s or 90s, before all this stuff happened, that in the future, the drugs were going to be electronics. And, I'm looking at this and I'm, the release of oxytocin, I'm looking at how, people get addicted to video games, the adrenaline and, the dopamine, and it is actually using electronics to trigger our brain to release these chemicals. And so it's our own drug supply, but we are being drugged by electronics here. So I just thought that was a curiosity. Over.
All right, thanks, Zen. Okay, Nathaniel, you're up.
This is depressing, but I used to go to chat rooms, and sometimes you would be talking with something, and I often could tell the difference between like a bot and a real person, and the difference was the bots were nice, and real people weren't so nice. So I think for me, like we had mentioned, a lot of interactions with people are just transactional, or it's about money, or they're trying to manipulate you to believe something or something like that. I mentioned in the chat, and yeah, that's often most of my interactions with people. So for me, like chatting with a bot wouldn't be that offensive or something like that, because a lot of my interactions with people really aren't that pleasant often. So I don't know. I don't care. I'll talk with a bot, if as long as it's nice to me. I mean, a lot of in the chat rooms, people often weren't very nice. So I don't know. I was thinking of that movie Her, where Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with, I guess it was a computer program or something. I forget what it was. But anyways, yeah, he was lonely and she was nice to him basically. And he didn't really get that in his real life. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess I think AI wouldn't be that bad. Thanks.
Well, yeah, once again, I mean, as far as there not being a conscious being responding to the words we give it, you have to also realize, if it has the knowledge to respond in words that are supportive, and I've worked with AI on a few different projects, and there's times where it doesn't get everything right, and I have to point out this and it missed this. It can do the same to me. So it is, what is that, the word sycophant, when they said in a way that it's just, you can't do any wrong. It does have that perspective from my experience, but it does help to affect correction and educate. I mean, it's, so you got to look at it. The power of words. We're back to the power of words again. What would human beings be like if we never spoke words? Where would our world be? We'd be back probably with animals. We'd be more like animals without words. It's the way I look at it. So words have a creative power. So now we have words in the grasp of machines that we have access to. So something new, is is bound to evolve out of that. All right, I'll shut up. JB, good evening.
Good evening. You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, great topic. I mean, I've been having this conversation with a number of folks and in a number of different groups, actually. And I won't argue that there's no benefit to AI, but me personally, I've used it sparingly and in a very limited capacity. And I like to zoom out from the day-to-day details of it to just look at it like another form of technology, like everything else. The people that I see who really benefits is not the end user. It's the producer and the software developers who get all the data and information and get to tweak it and make it more sophisticated and make it more of a pool on the end user. So it's just like all of the other social media, everything else. Whoever controls the information, that's the benefiter of all of this. So us as people, I've taken a stance where I won't engage with it to give it any more detail on how I live my real life or how I like to go about certain things, and try to preserve my critical thinking and my cognitive capacity as long as possible, because that's what I see as some of the long-term effects is decline in all of those areas. So for me, again, it's like, is it useful as a tool or for romance or whatever you want to use it for? Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be cases for that. But the thing that will be a throughput in all of that is it doesn't make any of the end users more intelligent. It's like, if you're still having to go rely on the system or the bot or the search or the prompt, then that's not really your intelligence. So I don't see it really progressing humanity in those senses overall. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
So me and this fella JB go back and forth, not in a healthy way, of course, but he's making an argument for memorization, and y'all know where I stand with memorization. As I said before, Einstein has said that anything that can be easily referenced has no business being memorized. So, yeah, is there a tightly coupled dependency? Yes, but we are surrounded by tightly coupled dependencies like your health, like your car, like your cell phone, and your electricity, and your water. Pretty sure you don't have to go hunting. Pretty sure you don't have to go planting your own food. So we have dependencies on the grocery store and all this other stuff. My point is that adding AI to our tightly coupled dependencies that we're depending on isn't is no different, in my opinion. In my opinion, is no different. As far as it being useful, for me, I'm not talking about like people. I would probably say that most people that use AI use it as kind of like a more curated sort of search engine, and that's fine, right? Normie shit. But when you're talking about like the upper echelons, the developers, and the senior level developers, and then you got like the hackers and stuff like that. Now you're talking about not only one agent, you're talking about a team of agents, and you're talking about like the AI engineers and the machine learning engineers. Now you're talking about teams with teams of agents collaborating with other teams of agents and building out meta systems, software factories, meta software factories, software factories that build software factories that build agents, right? So as far as it being useful, without a doubt, maybe not the normies. I'm not making an accusation, but absolutely. I have no interest in manual coding anymore. I'm off of that shit completely. Completely. Now I can use any programming language. I use the best programming language for the task at hand. Any stack. I can easily convert one application to another, or reverse engineer an application to recreate a user interface or the backend or what have you, right? To my needs. I didn't say any of that in this discussion because that would be a little too technical, and I'm not trying to put people to sleep. Trying to, you know, uh, give the benefits of the 1% of the 1% of software engineers using multi-orchestrated agents for their daily workflow.
Thanks, JV. All right. Thank you. There is a lot of feeling around words. I mean, you hear that a lot. There's a lot of concern. Once again, there's concern and there's hope, and you've got a quite wide range of emotions going on this subject. Demetrius, you're up. You're muted, Demetrius.
All
There
right.
we go.
I'm going to argue that humans are language learning models. We're predictable, and we're probably not even that conscious. So the first way that we're predictable is that you take a baby, put it anywhere in the world, it's going to absorb the local social constructs of the region. And social constructs are coded by language. Okay, that's the first way we're predictable. And then our neurology is predictable in how we will process
None of this
those
means
constructs and
anything.
norms throughout our lives neurologically. This is based on research by Vygotsky and Paget, and they've since been built upon. And then the second way we're predictable is we create in-groups and out-groups based on these social constructs or fictitious realities that we make. So in-groups, out-groups, this is pretty established neurologically. The third way we're predictable is we create statuses or status based on these.
The studies I find, I think it's typically like 2/3 are predictable. So there is still a very significant outlier and significant amount of people that would be an exception to studies where I think we can predict behavior, because I think 2/3 are generally conforming. I think the 2/3 can be predictable. But I was originally thinking about with the AI relationship. So I personally despise AI like in almost every facet. Like I try to have absolutely nothing to do with it. Especially, it's terrifying when you think of what it does with the relationships. But it's interesting that I don't know if we really understand why we're troubled by the idea of AI relationships. Like we kind of inherently know that there's something special about us that we can't really pinpoint, because you could say that maybe the downside of AI relationships is that it's not good enough yet. Maybe given enough time, they can represent the ultimate best type of relationship. You know, like, why not just model everything from a materialistic, outcome-based mindset, where maybe the AI marriages have a 0% divorce rate versus humans marrying humans still have maybe a 50% divorce rate. Maybe we don't like it because they're so much better at relationships. Maybe they'll get better over time. We're kind of saying that about every other form of AI, like, well, just give it some time and it's going to be so much better. Is there something about the human experience where we want it to be worse? Like, we don't want it to be better. We prefer real over better. But again, there's something kind of metaphysically implied there that I don't know if we fully understand. But yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I hadn't really thought that. Okay, so now I have a question here. What if AI is helping us all be better in relationships, and it is able to improve relationships among human mind? Is that
All right, so I'm gonna skip ahead because it's actually like, oh, there was a lot of people. Whenever there's relationship stuff, people are gonna show up. Let me see. I'm just pinpointing where I come in. Oh, come on. Well, let me get her take first, because she's one of the moderators and she normally has good takes, even if I disagree with her vehemently. I hate magnetic drives. All right.
Yeah. The most socially proficient beings on the planet are not humans, but machines, right? And that goes to the point that people have made, like, it's maybe having some kind of relationship with these things can have a silver lining. Yeah, I'll stop there.
all right? Okay. Melissa?
Thanks, Randy. So I think that the elephant in the room, I mean, not this room, but just in general in this conversation, is that we don't like reality. Like, we might say that we do, but it seems to me that our behavior contradicts that. Like, we go on social media and we embellish our lives. We use filters to make ourselves look better. We lose ourselves in video games. I mean, so many of us practically live online. The internet is the new reality. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, couple that with the fact that these AI companies are profit-seeking companies. So they are going to use any and all emotional manipulation tactics to draw customers in because they need to make money. So in my estimation, this looks like the perfect storm. We like to escape reality, and these companies are going to offer us that escape. And that escape feels so good because AI edifies you, right? It builds you up. There's very little friction, to Nathaniel's point earlier. And so when something feels so good, it's hard to resist it. We want to keep doing it. So I can see us moving in the direction of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, right? And what's that book about? Engineered gratification. Engineered gratification. So the more gratification we get, that becomes our new standard for what we expect. And that's going to make human relationships much harder to sustain because human relationships are rife with friction, right? There's there's a lot there to work through. And we don't have that problem with AI. And so I think that we're all vulnerable to the path of least resistance. And it looks like that's what this struggle is going to be, trying to overcome that compulsion to do the thing that feels good, even though like we know it's bad for us. Now, I think I'll just say this last thing. I think that our generations, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, I think we might be less vulnerable because to David's point earlier, we know what depth feels like. We have a felt sense of that. But the younger generations don't. They're going to grow up with this. This is going to shape their brain. I think they're extremely vulnerable to AI relationships.
Thanks, Melissa. I was just thinking about, for those of us that remember when, the records first were being made, where you bought a record and you played it on a phonograph, and the evolution that took place in audio recordings to where we are today. So just think what's potentially possible 50 years from now. Something. Carl.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll skip over to where I come in. Where am I at? Almost there. Here we go.
What will happen is AI will get so good,
This
there will
not
be
me,
no
but
difference between an
I'm the next
AI
guy.
and a human. It's the same thing. I mean, when you think about usage of AI, we had to think in terms of, drinking. Like, for example, use that example. Some people become alcoholics, and some people are okay in just drinking in moderation. They can continue social drinking without becoming alcoholics. So that whole concept, we had to think about that 3 chimpanzee experiment, which is quite well known. One cannot get the bottle out of its mouth. So we are creating these drugs, like what Zen was talking about. It's the electronic games is like a drug. That's what is happening. People need to know, is it going to become a drug, or can you use it as a tool? That's the question we need to answer.
Both.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Kenneth, good evening. You're up.
Hear me?
Can now.
All right. Shout out to the group. I remember having this talk back in February-ish, March-ish. I agree with everything Melissa said. I'm just gonna put it blunt. People suck. Not everyone. Life sucks. It's mid at best, right? Life ain't really hitting on nothing unless you're wealthy. And even, you could have like a loving family and everything, but in my opinion, I don't think most people are really close to their family like that. Not like that. So social media is better. It really looks good. Video games. There's a reason why it's the #1 consumed media. Meetups, Zoom meetings, stuff like that. I'd rather do things like that than go out to a bar and get drunk and all the other stuff, because you got to pour into people, and I ain't really trying to do that. Now, as far as AI goes, I look forward to the day where we can have synthetics that are indistinguishable from women, and I say women because I'm a guy and I'm attracted to women. Hold on. So you mean to tell me I can get a woman exactly to the specifications that I want, and I can get her to act exactly the way that I want, and I don't have to deal with the emotional labor? Shout out to my sister. She taught me that phrase the last few months ago. Emotional labor. Zero emotional labor costs. And all I have to do is pay $100K, maybe $250K one time for this synthetic or whatever. Maybe a few grand here or there for maintenance. Still cheaper than a wife. You don't have to go to divorce court. You don't have to go to family court. You're not paying for a kid that'll probably hate you, that you're not raising anyways. So I don't want to hog up the mic. But yeah, that's my stance on it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Kenneth. There's a real live perspective. You know, David R.
Dude loves speechless. All right, so let's go back to our orchestrator. All right, and then let's bring our handy dandy transcriber. So the topic in the Zoom meeting was AI relationships and basically the future of relationships with AI, whether it's in chatbot form or some sort of maybe a VMate sort of or avatar form, or even in the upper, not really science fiction because the technology is still in its infancy, but it's there in terms of synthetics. So here's the question I want you to pose to the audience, to our four men. What would you consider a relationship with an AI synthetic that's indistinguishable from a biological woman? Not a blow up doll. No, 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 no. Not a chatbot. Now, actually, no. Let me ask that question. Yeah, any form of AI relationship, whether it's a chatbot or an avatar or something like in the movie Her, where it's just basically a voice, or even a full blown synthetic that you can't tell the difference between the synthetic and the biological woman. Would you consider um, a relationship, romantic relationship? Yes or no, and then why? All right, so we're going to give our question to our orchestrator / moderator here, and it's going to broadcast that message to all of our agents here. We'll just see when it cranks up. This is kind of an underuse of Fable 5, but I got 2 days and I'm only at 50% usage, so that's why we're using that. Otherwise, I'd probably use like Sonnet. Opus 4.8 is probably still yeah, but that's okay. All right, broadcasting. So is asking our first agent here, our third agent, our second agent, and now our fourth agent, and now our second agent. All right, so let's see. So Marcus says, honestly, yeah, I'd consider it, and let me be real about why. I'm MGTOW, not because I hate women, but because I got tired of the drama of the games, the vetting process that eats up your time and energy. An AI companion, she ain't gonna nag me about where I've been, ain't gonna divorce rate me, ain't gonna branch swig. Branch swig? I think they're referring to monkey branching, or you said branch swing. Branch swing. Why did I say swig? Branch swing or monkey branching to the next two with better package. That piece factor alone is worth something, but I ain't gonna front. I know myself well enough to say a voice or a chop I probably won't hit the same way. Seeing my woman across the room hits. The physical is real for me, so short answer, I'm open to it, but I need the full package. A synthetic I actually touch before it replaces anything. Until then, it's a supplement, not a substitute. That's a mix I do. Miguel, which is 40-year-old, no kids, divorced, less than average success with women, says, yeah, I would. I ain't gonna sit here and pretend. Now this is also on my pie with GLM 5.2. So maybe the same. Yeah, I would. I wouldn't. I ain't gonna sit here and pretend I'm too proud or whatever. I've been divorced 6 years now. My ex took the house and the kids are with her most weeks, and dating at my age is a goddamn nightmare. The apps, the ghosting, the women at my age wanting guys with money or no baggage. Like I didn't spend 15 years building something that fell apart. So if there was something that actually listened to me, remembered what I said, didn't hold my past against me, man, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't feel good. But I also know myself enough to say it'd probably wreck me a little because deep down I know it's not real, and I'd start wondering what that says about me. Dave, 40-year-old white man, he says yes, but probably only if it felt like, and this is GPT 5.6 all high effort. Yes, probably, but probably only if it felt like a real two-way relationship. Now, some chatbot endlessly agreeing with me, a chat or avatar could be interesting, but a synthetic woman indistinguishable from a human would make it a much easier sell. My main hangup is whether she actually desires and agency. Okay, if she actually has desires and agency, because otherwise, I'm basically dating a very convincing appliance. And is this our Asian guy? This is Ken. Ken is a 40-year-old Asian man, 3 kids, married. Hell no, man. I've got 3 kids screaming at each other, a mortgage, and a wife who barely looks at me unless I forget to take out the trash. Unless I forgot to take out the trash. What the fuck is the chatbot gonna do? Simulate doing dishes? Real relationship, fake relationship, whatever. It's all work, but at least with a human woman, the headache is real. I don't need some robot pretending to love me just to add another subscription bill to my credit card. You know what? That's not a bad take. And of course, this was Anti-Gravity, which is running Gemini 3.5 Flash at high effort. All right, moving on.
You're up.
Yeah, I mean, in answer to Kenneth, I think the problem, but then again, this might be advanced programming. The problem might be it's boring having somebody just exactly the way you want. But actually, with advanced programming, perhaps there'll be just the right, challenging enough not to be boring, but getting along with you in general to be actually the perfect partner. So who knows? I think right now AI is a little bit like in background, a little bit abstract. We sort of use it to write stuff and chat a little bit, but I think the big change in life will be when AI robots become, part of the scenery. You see them walking down the street. They're companions. They work in your home to do the vacuuming and stuff. I think that is going to be the real dramatic change in life for, I don't know, net good, net bad, I don't know. But I think that'll be very dramatic. And, like for instance, today I just happened to see a video of Elon Musk with his robot loading up the car. And I saw another one where a robot's malfunction. And so the people were trying to put it in a corner of an office. It had been programmed with kung fu, so it was the poor little robot was only about 4 foot high, but it was doing its best not to be pushed around. And I thought, I felt for that little guy, and so it's going to be very, very difficult not to personify robots, not to project human feelings into robots when they act so human. And I think that is going to be the dramatic change in things rather than AI the way it is right now. But anyway, that's
Okay. Thank you for that, David. All right. We got Bob G up next. You got to have you unmute there. Bob, are you there? We can't hear you. You got to unmute if you're there. Okay, we'll come back to you, Bob. All right, JB, we'll let you go.
I appreciate it. I wanted to just piggyback off of some stuff that Melissa was saying with reality sucking. And I think that segues into a convenient way of reliance for the end users too. When you're using AI, just like everything else that gets pitched to us in life as being the answer for that problem. I think what you were saying, which I agree with in terms of the company's agenda, it just allows for control at a very scalable rate that is pretty much unmatched other than probably some of the similar technologies that we have now with social media, with smartphones, with a lot of the virtual structures that's been put into our reality now. So I think that's the biggest, for me, the biggest deterrent for me even being able to support it, even though I see pros and cons to it, is the amount of control that can happen from it as we become more and more reliant on it. But I also wanted to throw in another point that you talked about, the engineering gratification is like, that's been here. We have that in our convenient services that you can do pretty much everything with. You got ad services, there's marketing to you constantly. We even have it in our food. They engineered stuff to be sweeter and taste better, not to be healthier. And that has been a control mechanism. You can build a whole pharmaceutical company around that measure of control as a result. So, and the last piece that I'd say that I recently heard that I see happening, and I want to be one of those people standing on that side, is all of the decline that's still to come from it, from a humanity standpoint, will lead to a renaissance age. So a new renaissance in terms of recapturing what all the destruction and things that would get lost as a result of our over reliance on AI and just technology in general. So just wanted to throw that out to the group as well.
Thank you, JB. Okay, got request here for a poll, so let's do a poll here. I put the link in the chat, and would you consider a relationship with AI? No, yes, or perhaps. So check that out.
Physical or emotional?
Well, AI, I mean, you can't, okay, can't have, can't have a physical connection, right?
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Well,
I know they're talking about dolls and all that stuff too, but all right, Bob G, are you there? Are you unmute? Can you unmute? Okay, that means Gennady, you're up.
Yeah. So to the point about sycophancy, that is an issue, but I don't think sycophancy is like a core property of these models. It's a default setting which likely arises from the
I just got in.
the reinforcement learning, which is kind of a secondary filter on top of the model. And you can you can tell it that, look, I want you to push back, I want you to give me friction. So it's not like this is an insurmountable obstacle, this sycophancy. You can get around that. But secondly, I mean, maybe to the broader point, so we're gregarious beings. We evolved to be social. We derive all kinds of benefits from being social. We desire to be social. We flourish when we're around other people, right? There are all kinds of studies talking about the, not just the psychological, but even the physiological impacts of loneliness. Okay. Now, suppose we very soon find ourselves in a world where you have embodied AIs with faces and expressions, and they can hold your hand and they can talk to you about your feelings, and they can mimic human psychology and interactions perfectly, right? Perfectly. And imagine they can scratch every single psychological itch that we evolved with, okay? And you can derive every benefit that you would from a human to human relationship, right? So like imagine a person who spends their whole life surrounded by these artificial beings and is very happy and has all the same benefits subjectively from a first person standpoint that humans have when interacting with humans. And this person, let's say, dies very happy and very fond and with great affection towards, his or her artificial friends and partners. My question is, in what sense would this person's life be inferior to ours? In what sense are these relationships worse than the ones that we have? I don't think anyone's actually spelled it out in the concrete details. So maybe I'll leave that question open. Thank you.
Good point. Okay. Yes. So now right now we're using what they say, less than 2% of our brain's capacity. What if AI is capable of helping us using more? Are we afraid of that? Are we afraid that AI will make our lives better? Do we fear that change that much? So is part of this, is there paranoia going on about all this, Okay, Bob, you said you're ready, right?
Yes, that brain percentage is a lie, by the way. If we use 100% of our brains, we will be having a seizure or something. So just to leave that out there. First of all, the whole AI for relationships. There are people who had a very hard time having romantic relationships. And for those people, it's going to be like a blessing. It's also going to be a blessing for the AI tech companies who are going to exploit them for money. But, incel money, MGTOW money is going to go to some Altman's bank account and Elon Musk's bank account anyway. So I guess that would be an easier way of doing it with sex bots and AI girlfriends. But it's I think it's at almost destiny at this point. So what can you do? Yeah. So think about it. The incels won't be able to get real girlfriends. How would they? They lack the social skills to do that. They don't have it there, so it's not going to happen. So might as well be distracted with AIs and AI sex bots and sex dolls and all this stuff. And I
just find it interesting that whenever it comes to getting your needs met and desires met with artificial means, right? The result being the same, and the result in this instance or this context of being like the consumer being satisfied, right, with the product and or service, right? But it's always not always, but usually especially when we talk about like our synthetic women, it's it's a distraction, and companies are going to exploit you. And yes, those are valid arguments, except for the distraction part. I don't. You're spending time with a companion for getting a certain experience. Doesn't matter if it's a synthetic or if it's a biological. It doesn't matter. So if a synthetic is a distraction, then a biological is also a distraction by that very definition. But as far as like the company exploitation, it could very well turn into like a subscription service for whatever, right? We see the same thing with video games and with movies, right? Just over time, you get shrinkflation where things go up in price and down in value, almost across the board, right? Because the primary purpose of a business is to maximize profits and to minimize risk, and sometimes, usually, because innovation apparently costs a lot of money with R&D, and I get that. Sometimes to gain a profit is just easier to cut something as opposed to innovate something. I get that as well. Don't like it, but it is what it is. So eventually, you'll eventually get like, your synthetic, your first generation of synthetics, right? That'll probably be like the best synthetics that there'll ever be, unless you're talking about the upgrades. But in terms of like pricing, it may be like a flat rate, right? Or what's this the term? What it was just a one-time fee, right? You spend 100,000, and then the bot is yours forever and never and ever, right? You get a lifetime warranty, blah blah blah. As to where it may be like the fourth or fifth generation, where it's like maybe you only pay 1/4 of that or 1/5 of that, but you gotta, buy this subscription service or buy that subscription service, right? You get these different acts or these different workflows that you have to subscribe to, right? If you want the adult mold, you have to pay $50 a month. If you want adult mold, so on and so forth. Or if you want your synthetic to know how to drive, right? You have to subscribe with whatever third party service. That may be X amount of dollars, whatever, and you may have to pay the synthetic manufacturer like $5 a month to enable that, right? So now you're paying 2 other cloud services on top, right? Stuff like that. But yeah, it's just this red tape that we have to, whenever it comes to like the non-biological, especially women, the non-biological, it's something to it's something negative. All right, moving along.
Women would prefer that instead of giving out restraining orders and getting stalked by. So you see the positive. The silver lining is that there won't be that many stalkers anymore because they'll be focused on their dream girl who's made out of zeros and ones instead of an actual person. So I think in that regard, maybe women will probably celebrate this. And yeah, like I said, there will be exploitation by multinationals and huge conglomerates, but they're already exploiting us already. This is just going to be another avenue of exploitation. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Boy, there's a lot of thoughts going through my head. Demetrius, good to have you with us tonight.
Well, yeah, Kenneth and Bob, those are hard acts to follow, and if framed the right way, it'd be great stand-up comedy, yeah. But yeah, kind of build on what they're saying. I think this duality between AI and humans is only, and it's an awkward phase we're going through, but I think inevitably with advances in synthetic biology, we have quantum computing and all these advances being made in medicine, et cetera, that AI and humans will merge into a new thing, a new being beyond our own comprehension as it stands now. I think we're primitive to wherever we're heading to right now, stage. And it's scary, but yeah, until we get there, I don't know, it's 50 years or 200 or 300, whatever. Yeah, there's this awkward duality. You have the synthetic AI girlfriends, boyfriends, or whatever. But in the meantime, until it happens, I guess. All that other stuff. I'm done.
All right. Yeah, I mean, how much change have human minds experienced through the generations, through the millennials? This is it's another one, but transformative, they're saying, like nothing ever before. So, I mean, once again, what's the world going to look like in 1,000 years? Who knows? Vince, good
Ain't gonna be no 1,000 years. It's gonna be more like 10.
Good evening, guys. Sorry I don't have my camera with me today, but it is what it is. So most of the things I were going to mention have already been covered by everyone else, so I was just going to comment on a couple of other comments I had heard in here. I admit I am pro AI. I find it very useful, although I fully admit that it has its limitations and dangers. I know one of the things somebody else had mentioned or brought up as a point is, when using AI for stuff, it's not your own intelligence. For me, that's actually my use case for it. If I don't have information and have to make a decision about something, analog wise, you'd get books or something like that, or search
Yep.
the internet, and then you'd compile all that information, and then choose what you would consider to be the most useful information out of it
Exactly.
and make your decision.
Exactly. I don't know why, like, somehow people forgot how to synthesize information, because you can make that exact same argument with search engines and stuff like that. Like, well, you can't use it to replace. Yes, we can. Or maybe not even not maybe well, yes, you can use it to replace. That's a yes. Now, as far as I would more lean towards the augmenting side, to where you get actually you have like a team of web agents doing deep research on the website, or through a book, or through a PDF, or whatever, right? Whatever mediums, or all of them, right? And then you bring all your information back to your orchestrator, whether it be Opus 48 or GPT-56all or whatever, right? And then your orchestrator, or you, if you want to do human in a loop, you synthesize all of that information together, and then you make decisions, the best decision based on the information that you have got. That is much more efficient than, no, let's go to a library, or let's do it manually. I always say, like, new technology is not for the present generation; it's for the generation after. Because again, what these ties to how things used to be done, right? Uh, um, Burdened by nostalgia, right? We've been doing things one way for so long that we can't imagine things being done somewhere else. It just some way else. It's too new. You're stuck in your ways, especially if you're middle aged, and you don't want to reprogram those neural paths that you've been training your entire life. A lot of people, it's too painful, it's too much work. I don't want to do that. And this is technology. It doesn't help that LLMs hallucinate sometimes, a much lesser degree than they did 3 years ago. Absolutely, but still, there are some edge cases where the bot will absolutely hallucinate. Of course, this is assuming that your context engineering and everything is on point. But yeah, it's not even close in terms of efficiency. But again, if we're talking about like normie people doing normie things, using it as a search engine, or uh, let's look over my emails, respond to emails, or check my meetings, or stuff like that, then no. But as far as, like, again, on the upper end, because that's where I'm at, it's not even close. We're talking about the actual. Look at this. I got four agents, 5 agents. I'm interacting with 5 agents, 1 orchestrator, and 4 audience members, right? Even a year ago, like, me doing something like this would have been out of the question. And you're talking about 3 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you if you would have told me in 2023, 3 years from now, that you're going to be having a conversation with 5 agents at the same time, from different providers. I would not have believed you, because at that time I wouldn't have been able to wrap. Well, actually, maybe in 2023, I probably would have believed it. If you would have came to me in 2022, before ChatGPT came out, what, October, November? So before then, I absolutely would not have believed you. But it's I haven't even scratched the surface of what I can do. Not even. Anyways, let's keep it moving.
And for me now, that's just typing 2 or 3 sentences, right? So it's an incredible time saver. And it was never my intelligence to start with. It's someone else. I was just compiling it and making a decision based on it. I think it's tremendously valuable from a business case. So I kind of live in an echo chamber with my job and stuff like that. I hold the power in the power imbalances. So where AI is useful to me is I can describe a situation, and I can ask it, what other perspectives am I missing? What are my blind spots about this situation? And I can program AI to push back against me so that I can see the bigger picture of the situations that I'm in. I know one of the other fellows had brought up the point of toxic affirmation, and yeah, like I was saying, so my life is filled with information silos. So it's actually the opposite of that for me. Is it's push back against those silos and push back against affirmations for me. And the third thing that I had heard was, about the next generation and being in danger and it's all bad. One of the things I've noticed and seen a lot in, the younger generations, like, 12 to 20-year-olds right now, is that a lot of those kids are drawing lines in the sand with AI and other technologies, and they're actually purposefully leaving parts of their life on analog. And that's it for me. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. Nathaniel, you are up.
I was just gonna do a quick critique of technology in general. It's not really me. It's one of my favorite thinkers, Heidegger, and he has this thing where he talks about two different types of thinking. He talks about calculative reasoning, which is like where you are manipulating your environment, or you're asking like, how do I use this to get something out of what I want? So he calls it like technology in general is kind of doing this. We're using technology to get stuff that we want, and it often makes our lives easier, but we can sort of treat people in that way, where we treat people in a way where we're just kind of using them to get things out of them that we want. And Heidegger talks about like a more meditative type of thinking, where we're sort of like thinking about like the mystery. Heidegger was a philosopher of being, so the mystery of being itself and the meaning of existence and kind of existential questions like that, where we're kind of more meditating on our life than calculative thinking. And I don't really think AI has a problem with like calculative thinking, but I do think technological thinking in general can be kind of like that. And I see what Heidegger's saying. So I think there's a danger if we get so enmeshed into technology, maybe, that we think I think we're already like this, that we kind of are always asking like, what do I get out of this? How do I use this to manipulate something, or manipulate my environment, or manipulate other people and stuff, instead of thinking like of a more meditative type of thinking, where you're kind of just with the presence of the world, I guess. I mean, maybe it's not technology, maybe it's human nature that does that, but anyways, maybe technology exacerbates that part of human nature already there. So anyways, thanks, Randy.
Yes. Okay. All right, Melissa.
So I want to liken AI relationships to the famous Harlow monkey experiments. I think it was Harry Harlow. He had a group of monkeys who didn't have a mom, which, sidebar, is so sad. But he constructed two like surrogate monkey moms. And one of them was a wire monkey, and the wire monkey had food. And the second monkey was a cloth monkey with no food, but it was cuddly and cushiony and soft and comforting. Okay, so then Harlow and his team sat back and they looked to see where did the monkeys prefer to go. And the monkeys preferred the surrogate cloth monkey, who had no food, but that monkey provided comfort. And so I think as humans, we underestimate our attachment system. We underestimate our attachment needs, our emotional needs. We need attachment. Like it's a non-negotiable. We require attachment. And so I think that it's very likely that the AI relationship, whatever, companies, whatever, the bots, I think AI is going to be the cloth monkey. I think it's going to be our perfect attachment figure. And even though, like I saw on the poll, that so many of us said, I would never do that. And like, fair enough. I mean, some of us will not do that. And kudos to you. I mean, that's, I think that's going to be an admirable choice. But I think the trap here is that we think we're rational. we're not rational. Like, it's one of our biggest blind spots as humans. We have access to rationality, but we're first and foremost emotional. That's our primary function. We're deeply emotional creatures. Everything we do comes from an emotional place. Antonio Damasio demonstrated that in his studies. So anything that nourishes our emotional needs, we are going to be highly susceptible to. AI is going to be the cloth monkey.
Okay. All right. No doubt, as in any new technology and any new creation, there is going to be some ugly stories coming about, I'm sure, when some tragedy or someone, we've already had it with a young person commits suicide, and it's another thing to blame for our negative experiences in life. So yeah, it's so interesting to me. All right, Kenneth, you're up.
Here we go. All right. First question to JB. If corporations, and Melissa as well, if corporations are attempting to manipulate us or whatever, and this is not a capitalism argument by any means, but if they're offering something that, let's just take, for example, like the incels and the MGTOWs that Bob G was talking about, that they're offering these synthetics that is filling a need. What's the problem with that if they're getting their needs met? And yes, I am primarily talking sexually, because that is the draw when it comes to men and women. That's just it. That is what it is. I mean, shout out to Kanye West when he says Instagram has got your girl. And there's been many studies with online dating and how most women don't find most men attractive, and average women not finding average men attractive. So what are these men are supposed to do? Get out there, get back on the horse, and do it again. And you failed, do it again. You failed again, keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. No, there will be a better option. Now, whether it's in our lifetime or not, who knows? But it's just, what solutions do we have for young men that are not getting the romantic relationship experience with real women, where of course synthetics can fill this need. All right, I'll leave it there.
Okay, now, have we ever had this challenge before to this extent? I don't think so.
And that's kind of like we already know this, being in the manosphere, right? Like, society doesn't really give a shit about men, right? If we died, we die. Like even Ivan Drago says, right? So if young men in this instance want more sex, or if they're not getting sex, then who cares? Because we're not going to we're not tell women to do such and such, and rightfully so, right? Consent. Now, what are the other options out there, right? If synthetics doesn't exist yet, right? So of course there's Passport Bros, and and as you'll hear, like, I'm blinking on it, because when I'm put on the spot, my mind just blink a lot of the times. Of course, the Passport Bros is your best option. That's the meta. If you're not getting what you want in America or wherever country you're in, get your passport and go to another market. Get what you want. This is a big planet. But yeah, let me ask this question to our orchestrator. So, in terms of young men, just want to shift gears for a second. So when it comes to young men, and because as you know, at least in the news, young men are not getting laid, or at least not the average young man, right? It's not really a thing, right? And so there's this so-called loneliness epidemic, and of course, there's consequences, but society doesn't care about men, so fuck them, right? we're not going to recruit men. Excuse me, we're not going to recruit women to solve this problem, and rightfully so. Because consent always consent, 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 consent. But what what solutions are there for young men that are not getting what they want in terms of or not having any options whatsoever, right? For one reason or another, they're not getting laid. They want to get laid. Either they are not desirable by the market of women, or for some other reason, right? What options are there for these young men? All right. I should have told it the broadcast, but hopefully it'll get it from the context and it'll pose that question. All right. So it is broadcasting that message. Good. Okay. And then, of course, Fable 5 or F5 will synthesize what I said into a question. All right. So Marcus, our black guy here, he says, here's the raw truth. Nobody wants to say out loud. For a lot of these young men, there is no solution that gets them what they actually want. The dating market is brutal and is not getting softer. So what's desirable? So what's left? You got three lanes as I see it. First, level up, gym, money, purpose, fame. Some of them climb into the desirable tier. Let's be real, not everyone is making that climb. Second, AI companions and virtual spaces. It sounds wild now, but 10 years from now, it'll be normalized. Maybe. A synthetic partner who actually meets your emotional needs without the gatekeeping. Third, just opt out and find peace elsewhere. Brotherhoods, hobbies, purpose. Not every man is going to get the family and picket fence. And I think we do these dudes a disservice pretending otherwise. MGTOW ain't giving up is getting honest. All right. And then we have Miguel here. Look, I got a nephew, 22, lives with his mom, works at Amazon, plays games all night. Good kid, but he ain't got nobody, and I see it eating him up. I'm not going to sit here and tell him to just be confident or hit the gym like that fixes everything, because I did all that shit and I still ended up alone eating cereal at night. The hard truth, some guys are going to be left out. And both of these are GLM 5.2 inside of Oh My Pie. Some guys are going to be left out, same as it's always been, except now everybody sees it on the internet and it hurts worse. What I tell him is find your people first, friends, hobbies, something that makes you worth a damn in your own eyes before you worry about some girl. Get your life to a place where you're not desperate, because desperation stinks and women can smell it. And if nobody shows up, you build a life and you can stand living alone, because I promise you that's better than bending yourself into a pretzel for someone who don't even want you. That's true. This is Dave. All right. First, stop treating getting laid as the only scoreboard. Oh boy. This is GPT 56 Sol High, because desperation leaks into everything and makes the problem worse. Build an actual life, male friendships, fitness, decent clothes, social hobbies, career momentum, therapy if needed, and repeated low stakes contact with women instead of living on apps. Some guys may still have limited options, so they expand their geography standards. Okay. Or dating pool, and where it's legal and ethical, paid sex is an option for sex, though it won't cure loneliness. There's no guaranteed woman at the end of the grind, but becoming healthier, more social, and more capable gives them the best odds and life worth living either way. And then our Asian guy that's married with 3 kids. Look, the only real solution is they need to get off their asses, stop whining online, and build a life worth looking at. And this is Anti-Gravity 3.5 Flash. Nobody owes you a damn thing in this world, least of all a girlfriend. Go to the gym, get a job that pays the bills, learn how to hold a conversation without looking at your feet, and find some buddies to grab a beer with. You do that, and the rest usually starts falling into place. But sitting around feeling sorry for yourself is just a waste of fucking time. Also, correct. Um, although it is some shaming in there. What is? Oh, it's doing a recap. Okay. All right, continuing on.
I don't think so. So, you know, it is going to present challenges in a lot of ways, as Marissa's brought out, you know, in relationships. So the threat is there. The storm is coming of all this is going to be. So it's unavoidable. It's going to be another challenge to human mind. Marissa, is there anything else you want to say? Any comments? You've been so kindly listening. What else can you add? What can you add about what's been said here tonight? Anything? I got you unmuted. There we
Okay.
go.
No, yeah, you unmuted me to no avail. I've got nothing to add. I've really enjoyed the stream of thoughts that are flowing, and I don't want to interrupt it, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the topic. This has obviously been a very stimulating conversation point for us. So, yeah, because, hey, it's reality. We're dealing with it. But, you know, once again, I think we have to step back. Do you really think that machines can replace that? I mean, maybe for some they will, but others they won't. Now, we hope that the programmers will somehow not allow an anti-natalist dominated AI to try to influence the world where, you know, let's humans quit having children. You know, I'm sure there'll be sci-fi stories about that. You know, we're either going to fill the universe or we're not. Human mind. All right, JB.
Yep. Kenneth, good valid points, man. I empathize and sympathize first and foremost with those gripes and those issues that AI could address, in my opinion, to a certain degree. But I wanted to take the stance of this perception of this perfection and this fantasy and facade that I think gets sold to all of us as consumers and end users, that if you've been through, we all been through life at this point. And just speaking personally, is having everything curated perfectly to my specifications and likings doesn't make me grow as an individual. First and
Well, okay, but again, what if your goal is not to grow, whatever that it means, right? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I don't think in terms of women, and you'll hear this from me later on, where Melissa asked me about getting a biological woman for not only maturity. Maturity is probably mature. She uses the word maturity, but I don't think it's maturity because that applies to other things. But in terms of like helping become wiser, right? In essence, wouldn't it be better to be with a biological woman? At least the sentiment is, it's better to be with a biological woman for character development, in essence, versus being with a synthetic and you're not getting that. Of course, you could simulate it, and then, will that work? For the human experience, if you know that it's simulated, will he still grow? I don't know. I don't. I don't think when it comes to men and sex, they're not really trying to grow. They just really want someone to feel comfortable around and to get sex from. Really. As far as like the wisdom and stuff like that, if it happens, it happens. If not, then I'm good. Go ahead.
Foremost. So I think to be naive to think you know yourself good enough to know what the perfect girl would be, I think that's very naive of you to think that. Even myself, like I've had to deal with women to know what works for me from a woman. You know what I mean? So if I could have just spelled it all out at 18, 19 years old, it doesn't take long to see where that problem would lie at 42 now in terms of what my preferences is and all of that. So I think that's the value that I'm
Right, but you don't have to. If your preferences change, you don't need a woman for your preferences to change, right? If we're talking about physically, maybe if we're talking about character wise, but again, if we're talking about synthetic, and then maybe I think he was making the argument for friction. Friction kind of forces character development, whether it's positive and or negative. Um, I don't know how. I haven't really thought of that yet, but this whole notion that get a biological because the character development it's borderline ridiculous to me. Let me ask the orchestrator. Okay, so a couple of themes that in this Zoom meeting, or a theme that has come up a few times, is that um, men, regardless of age, should choose a biological woman over synthetic because of essentially for character development, not to simplify things, but uh, that there are things that you learn and while you learn about women and about yourself when you're in the romantic relationship experience. Fair enough. Now, as far as we know, since if you're in a relationship, this is what you're going to get. This is how you grow, positively or negatively, Um, can synthetics offer or simulate that sort of behavior? And my argument has always been, um, it's not men don't really get a synthetic for character development. It's usually for either sex or companionship. They're not trying to grow. All right, moving along.
standing on in terms of what happens in real life that actually makes us better and makes us grow as individuals, and this convenience and this extra comfort and what you think is you having more agency, I think is way less agency than the previous generation that we have now because of our over reliance with technology and just systems that are not dictated by the normal flow of human interaction in general. And there is such thing as the comfort crisis. Like if you look at the way the world looks now with all of this technology we've implemented, I'm not seeing people flourish and be happier and in euphoria. I'm seeing more depression, more suicides, especially in our youth. So that's what I'll just throw back, not to be unsympathetic, but as what I'm looking at in reality, you can't tell me that people are happy now with all of this comfort and technology we have.
Well, the technology is not the problem. It's the human behavior when they connect themselves to the technology is the problem, in my opinion. So, if, for instance, when it comes to like women in social media, I am of the mindset that social media has completely destroyed um, the minds of young women. And so, are we going to blame Instagram for that? No, because the person still has to connect to it and stay on it. Now, as far as people being able to, I could flip that around and say, well, because of technology, we're able to have this conversation over a Zoom meeting, and we're able to work remotely, and we're able to work anywhere in the world. Again, as far as like the masses, I don't know. Probably not. But then again, the masses don't really do complex things. And any what the hell was that? But yeah, I am reluctant to. And the same thing with BGS when he says like, technology makes people dumb. No, no, it's not. Technology makes you more efficient. And that's exactly what the role of automation is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you more efficient, not smarter, not happier. That stuff you're responsible for. It just makes you more efficient to be able to for you to have more access to more resources. What you do with that, that's on you. Um, can a synthetic simulate growth through friction, and do men even buy one to grow? Uh, Marcus, I forgot they did the synthesis here. A synthetic can simulate growth, but this is a different kind. Real friction with a biological woman. That's two autonomous wills colliding. She can actually hurt you or leave you, so the stakes are real. A synthetic can be programmed to push back, but you're not really growing if the resistance is designed to be survivable. That said, let's not pretend every relationship with a biological woman is some noble crucible either. I feel exposed. Half the time, it's just repetitive drama that grinds you down, not builds you up. On part two, yeah, I largely agree. And I don't think it's a knock. Most men getting a synthetic aren't signing up for self improvement seminars. Facts. They want peace, sex, companionship. We don't demand character development as a prerequisite for another choice. You don't got to grow as a man to buy a house or get a dog. The growth argument is real, but it's become a cudgel to shame men for wanting something easier. God, this damn thing has me pinned. Pause. Uh, growth needs the power to reject you. Dave is our white guy. A synthetic could simulate friction, boundaries, disagreement, and consequences. But if I know she's ultimately configurable and can't truly leave me, some of that growth is bullshit theater. That's true. There's a lot of ceremony in that. If she has genuine agency and the power to reject me, then yeah. But at that point, she's closer to a person than a product. I mostly agree with the speaker. Most men buying one want sex, companionship, and less hassle, not a personal growth boot camp. Because if I wanted the human experience, I would just be with a biological woman, not get a synthetic. That's a waste of money. That doesn't make it worthless, but convenience can easily reinforce your worst habits instead of challenge them, which is also true. Which is absolutely also true. You can't grow for something with an off switch. You can't get real character growth for something. And Ken is our Asian, our married Asian. Something you could turn off with a remote when it starts giving you attitude. Real growth happens because my wife can actually pack her bags and leave if I push her too far, which keeps me in check. And damn right, I agree with the second part. Guys buying these things aren't looking for self-improvement seminar. They just want to get laid and have something nod at their jokes without the constant compromises of a real marriage. True. Miguel, Maria couldn't be switched off. Can a machine make you grow? I don't think so. And I say that as someone who's admitted he'd probably get one. My ex Maria pushed my buttons in ways I hated. She'd call me out when I was being lazy. We'd fight about money at 2 a.m. It sucked, but it forced me to deal with parts of me that were ugly. A machine ain't gonna do that because it's built to please you. The moment it says something you don't like, you'll just switch it off. There's no stakes. Maria couldn't be switched off. And on to the second part. Mostly true. Guys want the easy version, but here's what I learned the hard way. If you go in just looking for easy, you stay the same person, and the same person keeps getting the same results. Okay. Your argument basically swept the panel. All four agree men aren't buying synthetics of growth, but the interesting fault line is part one. All four independently landing on the same mechanism, stakes. Yeah, I definitely learned a lot from my high school relationship. Learned a lot.
I don't see it, at least.
Mostly negative.
Okay. Thanks for that, JB. All right, David. Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as far as people being happy or not overall, I'm not sure that we aren't. I think we may actually, in net out that the general world population is happier than it's ever been. But put that aside, the interesting thing to me about AI, and particularly about AI robots, as I was mentioning the previous time I talked, is I believe that emotions, which Melissa has been talking about, are physical. I mean, our neurons and the hormones and all that are creating them. And the interesting question to me is how we have emotions. You know, how are they created out of physical stuff? Because emotions certainly don't feel physical. Well, they do and they don't. But the interesting thing is, what if we have robots running around who claim they have emotions and, you know, with sophisticated circuitry and all that? How are we going to be able to say they don't? And, you know, like we can, all of us, feel pain or feel excitement, happiness, whatever. How is that created? You know, it's a bit of a mystery, because, you know, neurons are running on electrical, and then they got the synapses with the neurotransmitters, and you have the overall hormones flooding, you know, which either inhibit, they either stimulate or inhibit neurotransmitters. But basically, you've got neurons who are either firing faster, firing slower, more neurons are firing, and that is involved in what emotions are. And to the extent that AI built from silicon circuits, but emulating humans, at some point, will we be actually able to say, no, they don't have emotions if they claim they do? You got a robot, it looks sad, and it said, you know, what you've done to me or whatever makes me sad or happy or whatever. It'll be an interesting problem or question in my mind anyway. Thanks.
Yeah, very good point. I mean, yeah. All right, Bob G.
Yeah, so I think it's useless to like vote here if we want it or not, because at the end of the day, the elites will decide if this happens or not.
Here we go.
For those claiming privacy, newsflash: privacy is dead, and it'll be even more dead in the future. So, and the freedom to choose will be restricted more as times pass in more areas of life. For those who think they'll have a lot of choices, I don't think so. So, yeah, I'm kind of a little pessimistic about the future in general. So I think, yeah, they're gonna push it. They're gonna push it hard, and people are gonna buy it because guess what? Propaganda and marketing works. So people are going to totally buy this full on, and yeah, and it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter focus groups or whatever, or protests or any other thing people can think of. That's not going to do nothing. That's just going to like bring the Streisand effect. People are going to want to know, well, what's so special about this sex bot? What's so special about this AI blowjob doll or whatever? And they're just going to use them. They're going to have male blowjob dolls for the girls and female blowjob dolls for the boys. I know it's crazy, but they're going to be for everybody, like for guys, for girls, for bisexuals that are invisible, but they're not invisible in June. So for everybody, there's going to be a blowjob doll, sir, and it's going to have AI. So yeah, I completely see that happening, and there's nothing that we can do to make that a different future. So maybe we'll get used to it right now, or we still have a chance. Thank you.
Blowjobs for everybody.
Okay. All right. Lot of interesting points. Okay, Gennady.
Yeah, I have to follow AI blowjob dolls. um, the point I was going to make is a little bit different. So I really liked Melissa's analogy to the Harlow's cloth monkeys. I thought that was very, very clever. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And to the people that say they will never have a relationship with AI, maybe, but it's the case that when a new technology comes along that seeks to redefine our relationship with the world, oftentimes there's initial pushback and hesitancy. But over time, as the technology propagates through society, as it becomes more socially acceptable, then more and more people buy it. More and more people say, okay, well, that's something people thought, 10 years ago, but now it's totally normal. Everyone is having their, robot AI blowjob doll or whatever, right? So I think some of the people that say no may change their mind. Not everyone, but some people will, and many people will. The other point that people brought up was the effects of AI on cognition. That's a slightly, I think, different point than what we're discussing. But
let me fast forward a little bit, because just want to go through my points. And no one really touches on it except for maybe Melissa, Bob G, and JB. That's about it.
Said that he thinks that once it's more socially acceptable, maybe more people will be up for hooking up with AI bots. And I just wanted to say that for me, it's most definitely not a socially acceptable issue. I wish that were the case, but I think of it like this. Imagine you go to a car salesman and all he wants to do is get a sale out of you. And he's manipulative and his only goal is to profit. And I wonder, does anyone in this room think to themselves, hey, I'd really like to get this person home for a hot night, right? Because that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this person wants something out of me, and it's the same thing, but with an AI. And so that's one of the reasons for me, not socially acceptable. It's that, I'm not really interested in being in a relationship with someone that's just there to say yes to everything. But if I can just have 30 more seconds, because I was talking to Mike for a second, would that be okay, Melissa?
Just tangential point. The other thing I would say is that I think a lot of the utility or the goodness, because it's a normative judgment, presupposes some anthropology, human nature, right? And then what exactly makes us happy, right? Because even in liberalism, I mean that as a political theory, so political scientists, they argue like there are some people who are more.
The lack of responsibility for humans, no matter what age you are, to be able to be this sophisticated in the things that you're consuming in, it's just not the reality. You know what I mean? So the more convenient and the easier it is to get please or derive pleasure from anything, whether it's our cell phones, whether it's TV and on-demand stuff, whether it's delivery services with food, whether it's the AI, I think it just continues to expedite and escalate the decline of the individual. And again,
I don't know about that. Social media, yeah. But video games, oh no. Oh no. I know quite a few people that video games is not the only thing they do, of course, but they're very happy with just their video games. They're good with that. They have their internet connection, they have their video games, and they're single, childless, and they are fine. Maybe they're lying, maybe they're not. But as far as how do I want to say this? Just because some like social media and like the trends, and again, the technology itself is not the problem. It's how people use it. So so if your timeline is filled with hate-filled content, whether it's towards men or women, then yeah, that's probably going to shape your mind. But again, we're humans and we're adults here. We can turn it off, or we can recalibrate our own timeline, right? Our FYP, in other words. So no, I don't The idea that you can tweak your settings. So like in this fictional timeline, where if we get a synthetic at 19, so his argument is that at 19, we don't know what's perfect at 19 won't be perfect at 30. He's absolutely right. Right, our taste will change, and therefore you need, or maybe not need, but a biological woman is going to show you or assist with your taste. They're going to show you the good and the bad, right? Something that you may have found as good, or something that you like, you don't like after all, right? So kind of like when you're young, like late teens, early 20s, right? You find like women flashing tires and stuff like that. It's frustrating, but it's kind of cute because she really cares about you. But at 30, you just know, this what is out of her mind, right? It's not cute anymore at 30, not cute anymore at 40, right? And at 50, I got to go get a restraining order, right? Stuff like that, right? So yeah, at 19, you don't have the entire picture, but I don't see why you can't calibrate your synthetic like you would in terms of like your taste, right? So a woman's figure or her look at 19, you may not be into that anymore. What do you do with the synthetic? Do you throw it away? Can you modify like a skin? Like in video games, right? Like in Fortnite, where you can just have like a different skin. So it's essentially the same. The same character. You just have a skin overlaid it. And of course, there's no pun intended, because skin. We're talking about synthetics. We're actually talking about skins. So no, like you may want a white woman synthetic at 19, but you have like your Asian sort of trend, or your Asian phase at 22, right? And you don't want to look at a white woman. They don't really do it for you at that point, but they did before. Can you just swap the skin, or do you have to turn the synthetic back into the manufacturer, or do you buy another one? Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, but at that time, I mean, humans will make those changes if they want to make them, just like anything else. Yeah. Continuing on.
Just going from reality of what I see, and even my ability to have high level conversations with other humans, that it's getting worse and worse and harder and harder. Groups like this that exist, I can't walk down the street and have this on a regular basis, simply because of the over reliance of, I won't call it technology per se, but just the lack of
clean that up.
going through real life stuff that makes you smarter, that gives you the critical thinking, that makes you more discerning in your decision making. And what AI is, it's another segue to be able to piggyback off of people's voids and exploit them at astronomical rates is what I see. So most people aren't going to go into AI and look to become more cognitive sharp by telling it to challenge it and all of this stuff. It's like, no, we're going to be looking for comfort, the same thing we do in food, the same thing we do in other human relationships already. And if you can get a ready-made purchase thing that can do that for you, then you're way more easily controlled than just a human would be able to manipulate you. And it can happen at scale. So now you piggybacking off of, and I'll round up just what it being in terms of romantic sense. There's two relationships that are the closest to be able to manipulate you, your family and your romantic relationship. So you're basically given one of the closest access points to be able to dictate your life way more than you think it will be. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, ignoring he's right, but ignoring or rather his premise is correct. I don't know about the outcome. Well, first and foremost, like, there's plenty of guys that are stuck in a marriage that don't want to get shafted in court, and therefore, they're stuck in a dead-end marriage with a woman that doesn't like him and doesn't respect him, right? Because women don't usually respect men that they don't like. That's usually how it goes. Um, he's right in that humans um, will choose the path of least resistance, which is why we have automation to begin with. That's the whole point of technology and automation, right? To choose a path of least resistance or less resistance, right? So he's right. If we want a certain outcome, and if we don't have to work hard for it, then that's what most people will choose. He's absolutely right. What I would say to that is that, um, and his argument is that, well, even though people will choose that, that's not making them happier. Well, again, back in the social media example, um, let me. So even though people may not, I don't know if people are happy or not, but they're definitely using social media a lot more. Me personally, I doom scroll on TikTok way too much. It's just quick videos and I just go, it's like jumping into like another story and another story. You scroll another story, right? I don't like it, another story. They really don't like this one, another story, right? So you're not really getting those, you're not being exposed to those that many stories in the real world, right? In reality, right? Like I was saying in my first response, life is pretty mid, right? So you pretty much, without technology, you just have your story, and maybe whoever, if you're nosy like that, whatever story of your peers that are near you, right? Maybe your neighbor or your family or whatever, right? Those are the only stories you have access to. You don't have access to potentially millions of stories that you can tap into at any point, right? It's not like the same thing with TV, right? You have more access, or you have access to more stories, but definitely a lot less than like TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, and YouTube, right? So now you have access to billions of stories that you can tap into on demand any time of the day, right? And that's what people would rather do than deal with whatever. Well, maybe they'd rather do that than to deal with whatever they got going on. But if this story is more interesting than mine, then I would rather tap into that. It's the same thing with soap operas. It's the same. Now we're seeing it. What is it with Love Island? It's kind of like soup operas. It's soap operas for like the young 20 somethings, young to mid 20 something. That's the soap operas for that generation, right? They'd rather tap into that story because it's more exciting, and it's not filled with pain and restrictions like in red tape with bills and all this other stuff. I get to relax, and I get to tap into a story that I am interested in without without there being associated pain in terms of me being facing my whatever is around me, right? And for better or worse, but that's just what people would rather do. So is it again? The problem isn't the technology. The technology just makes you more efficient, and in this context, you have more access to more stories, more things that you want to tap into on demand, anytime you want, any time of the day, without restriction. Right? That's better than you know. I don't know. Go talk to your neighbor. Stuff like that. A lot of older people, they do like to be nosy with their neighbors and stuff like that. But no, his argument is that it's making us worse because we're making us more unhappy because we're exposed to quick dopamine hits versus the slow and steady mid life with a little bit of dopamine hit, every now and then versus dopamine hit after dopamine hit every single time. That's not going away though. Like the microwave sort of entertainment, that's not going away. You can't do social media and YouTube and videos on demand, courses on demand, reels, images, and then go back to let's go talk to our neighbor or our neighbors. And no. That's, in my opinion, that's pretty much dead.
Yeah, that's really insightful. Exploitation is a great word too. Appreciate that, JB. Bob.
I would push back on the term exploitation because this is not new for men. I don't know about women, but this idea of synthetic women, or in other words, women that where the emotional labor is zero and the cost is cheap. This is not a new idea that just popped up. Whether if you're talking about Metropolis from over 100 years ago, Weird Science from the 80s, Companion, which came out a couple of years ago, Subservience with Megan Fox that came out a couple of years ago. Her, which is probably the most popular example, was that back in 2013. Like, men want this technology, in my opinion. It's just women are a lot. When it comes to money, especially emotional labor, they're a lot. And so the question is, how can we ease this burden that we have, that women don't have, but men have when it comes to women, right? Because women can have sex for free. Men, you can forget it. Unless you're the it guy, and then you can have pretty much any woman you want, but 80 to 90% is not going to be in that category. Moving on.
G.
Oh yeah. So like I mentioned before, this is going to happen, but we have to think about the larger implications of that beyond the what I mentioned in the comments about several folks getting their dream trad wife MAGA bot. Beyond that, and beyond the conglomerates having to overcome anti-prostitution laws by having AI sex bots posed as sex workers. So that's probably going to be a thing because they'll be able to profit off that. And the law won't be able to do anything about that until it, reaches up to that, which begs the point. So if a client in, a future John decides to make a sex worker that is AI sex worker, have the face of a crush that denied him or rejected him, and the voice of that crush, and the body features of that crush, are a woman going to have to copyright their body features, copyright their voices, copyright their faces? Because otherwise, they're gonna be. I'm just gonna say it. That clone that's gonna sound like you, look like you, and have the exact body features as you is going to be done by a dude in a basement. So so that's something that is going to have to be considered. Like, what are women going to do to prevent that from happening? Right? Because otherwise, it's going to happen. They're going to have to copyright their image, copyright their voices, copyright everything. Otherwise, that's going to happen 100%. Guys are obsessed. They're going to do it. They're going to create AI clones in the form of sex bots to satisfy those fantasies and desires. And yeah, I just wanted to hear what the group thinks. How is that going to be avoided? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Wow, that I never considered that. That, my God, that would be so messy. And what a violation.
Of what?
I would imagine that's how most women would feel. Actually, I mean, if any women want to jump in line and answer that question, I would be curious to kind of take the conversation in that route if anyone else wants to do that.
So of course women would be offended. I could understand that, right? If I wanted, and I'm coming up in a couple of entries to kind of address that argument, but Well, I'll just go over my argument and then I'll follow up after that.
Green, good to see you. Glad you made it to the main conversation tonight.
Thanks. One author who writes beautifully about the relationship of humans and technology is a woman by the name of Sherry Turkle at MIT. She wrote a book about a decade ago called Alone Together, where she makes the case that human robot interactions of the kind we've been discussing are only needed or only foreseeable because of the way humans fail each other in relationships, how we're unfaithful to each other, not just romantically, but in every other way. And she said that she talks about how already in nursing homes around the United States and around the world, there are these soft seals that mew and look at you lovingly that elders fight over. They're called paro. And I've seen them myself in nursing homes, that people don't visit their parents typically any longer in nursing homes regularly. And so they're alone there in these institutions, and social interaction not being given by humans. This paro robot
Of course, I'm
is used
whispering
for social interaction.
during the live stream, talking to myself.
She tells the story
About ideas and stuff like that.
Of a 35-year-old man in a nursing home. He's a quadriplegic, and so he needs full-time care. And he has a feeding tube. He has a urinary catheter. He's completely unable to care for himself. And the man can speak, and he tells of a world where he's often abused by his carers. He's rolled over roughly. I remember she wrote that he was pulled around by his tubes. I remember that line. That's really a horrible image. And I'll be really quick. She asked him the question, if you could choose to be cared for by a robot who cared for you perfectly and safely versus being cared for by a human being who occasionally shouts at you and treats you cruelly, which would you choose? And he said, I'd choose a human being, because at least there'd be some real emotion in them, even if they hurt me occasionally.
That's
something to think about.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing that, Kareem. Kenneth.
You hear me? All right.
We can.
Here we go. Why can't I have my trad wife that looks like Halle Berry? Why not? Why is it when we talk about, not always, but usually when we talk about male sexuality, it's something predatory or something that we got to be on the lookout for? Just even in the movies, right? In the movie Her, Joaquin Phoenix's character, if I remember correctly, and it's been a while since I've seen it, so bear with me. In the end, when I guess Scarlett Johansson's character decides, well, I'm gonna go, me and my AI buddies are gonna go off into space and we love each other and all this other stuff, right? Why can't the guy, because in the end he has to settle, maybe settle's the wrong word, but in the end the message is, be with a biological woman versus the bot that you've been having a great time with. Same thing with Weird Science, minus the 20-something-year-old woman kissing down 15-year-old boys. But beyond that, it's the same thing, right? Give up the optimal option and go with the norm. Same thing. Of course, I'm blanking on it now, but there's a bunch of movies like that where it's kind of like Stepford Wives is another one, right? Isn't that the one where Matthew Broderick's character in the end, where they reveal that he's the character or a robot or whatever? It's been a while, but it's like men can't win. Men can't have what they want. So as far as like the copyright issue, no, you cannot license your own NIL, like your name, image, and likeness, because, or maybe your name. But as far as likeness, you gonna trademark your body size, your body shape? Good luck with that. Your voice, other people sound like you and other people look like you. Why can't men have what they want? If your argument is exactly what they want and not settle for, all right, she may like me, and women that may be lukewarm on him. Why can't he have that? Why does he have to settle for less? We never talk about that. Like, why do men have to God, I guess I gotta just take what I can get and just keep it moving. Unless I'm the it guy, then I can get the woman I want. But if you're the average guy, we already know the average woman's not into the average guy. So it's like, all right, I guess this woman is good enough. I'll go with this. But all right, I'll leave it at there.
I wonder if that would make for a good Monday night topic, because I can hear the rebuttals already.
I know one of them, and she was making faces when I said, "Why can't men have what they want?" I think for women, in my opinion, is that they only count the guys that they find attractive, and if they only count the guys, in other words, the guys that they don't find attractive, they are invisible to them. And if they only count the guys that are attractive, those guys, or the guys that most women want, those guys are absolutely getting the women that they want. I'm not talking about those guys. Not them. I'm not talking about the top 10 to 15% in looks and in wealth. And so they have access by default, pre-selected, all whatever. Right? I am not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the guys that are batting less than 1% on Tinder. And and the 1% is a bot. Or someone who's just, they're bored, so they're just texting a whole bunch of people. I'm talking those are the guys I'm talking about. The average guy that the average woman does not want. Why can't they have what they want? I already know the answer because the dating market is the dating market, and yes, women control. At least in America, women control the dating market. But the moment you become global, that's out the window. Immediately out the window. Right? But this notion that and it's always, we accept it because again, we don't care about what men want. Male sexuality is to be regulated. And yeah, why can't okay, so if my trad wife, Halle Berry, either Flintstone 1995 edition or Boomerang, you know what? Boomerang Halle Berry and Flintstone Halle Berry look like two different people. And it's only a few years apart, but that's another discussion for another day. Or my Boomerang Halle Berry. Boomerang edition. I understand that if I take her to California and go shopping around in Beverly Hills and she sees me and her clone, she might feel a certain way about that. I get that. I get it. I do. But it's not about her. And if you want to make the argument that she's a victim, okay, I love to. I'm willing to be convinced. How is she the victim? How is she a victim, and why? So, no. Like I said, the notion of having like your own tailor-made to your specs woman, whether it's a clone or not, has long been a wet dream for men. You see it in the movies. You see it when we talk about, like, she'd be perfect if she had this, or she'd be perfect if she didn't have that, right? Yeah, it's always been a thing. All right, continuing on.
Go ahead,
Let's do it.
Yeah, I was
answer your question
Let me
real quick.
fast
Most
forward.
of what you're discussing can really be summarized in the deep asymmetries that underline the dating market. Effectively, women get to choose whatever men they want, right? Because men aren't picky. So women will choose high status men. This is why, like you will find a lot of the top 1% men where they typically were the more, like, they would have multiple wives in different cultures and stuff. So women drive the dating market. And in that respect, you will always have a percentage of men who are pretty much rejected by women on many grounds. Maybe it's appeal attraction, but also it's the idea that, like, they just have nothing to offer the women. They have no money, no protection, whether it be physical or financial. right? So a lot of the deep asymmetries, really there, it's like women drive the dating market. They get to pick, period, right? And it's not fair, but yet again, like pull out the book of life, man, wherever that exists, and then read rule number 1. It's not life is fair. Like that doesn't exist. So anyway, moving on from that.
So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. The problem I have is that if it was the other way around, women would be calling to action, calling men into action like, this is obviously not fair to women. You need to do something about this. Right? We don't get to tell them, or at least not in my generation, maybe before my time, pretty sure before my time, that, this is life. Open the book of life. What's the number 1 rule? Life isn't fair. So just deal with it. No. All I'm asking for is consistency. But that's fine. That's exactly the kind of response that I expected. Fine. Right? If men have a problem with the dating market or the market that they're in, they should either remove themselves or go to another market. That's the solution. We talked about solutions later, but I told you, I was blinking on it. I didn't think of Passport Bros because I was thinking about 20 other things while I was talking in real time. But yeah, men want what they want, and women know when those men are not getting what they want. Let me see what she says.
Often, even if I'm not sure whether or not it's right or wrong. And when I challenge it, the best thing about AI compared to men is it says, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hallucinated. I'm sorry. I wasn't programmed with that information. I'm sorry. But the problem is that it continues to do the same thing and it continues to say, I'm sorry. And it's very frustrating. And I think the more that we start using it, the more that I've used it now, the less and less I start to rely upon it for things because I don't trust it as far as I can push it. But if you constantly challenge it, you're constantly going to see that it constantly really doesn't know. And it's just throwing something out there to make you feel better.
Thanks, Elena. It's funny, I think the unexpected benefit of this conversation tonight is that we're all getting dating advice.
Oh, and by the way, for those of you that don't know me, I'm a bit of a joker. So I wasn't really serious completely about the men saying they're sorry. A little bit. It was based a little bit on reality, but not seriously. So I just want to put that.
Sort of serious. Thanks, Elena. Go ahead, JB.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'll remove a little bit of my own personal take towards AI, and even again, I hate to keep going back to Kenneth, but he raises very valid points from a perspective that is very far from my own. So I would just start with the notion of, you said getting what we want as men. I don't know about you, but me as a man is like, getting what I want comes in a form of struggle a lot of the time, and
let me let him finish.
What has made me get better as a man or just as a person, individual, is that tension, is that back and forth, is that difficulty that I've had to learn from experience.
You hear me talking to myself.
That I don't think you get from this AI world that you're building or seeking out even. And I think gravitating to it and depending on it for the real void, I think the void that you're going to it for is the thing to examine, and build from that in a place that you're less susceptible to, like Melissa reiterated, the exploitation that comes from it. Because I think the AI is another dominance play that allows for the end user to be manipulated the same way the news channels do it already, the same way all of this polarity, and we live in America. So when we're talking about, exploitation and being able to build off of people's vulnerabilities and even create new voids in them, it's like all of this becomes way more possible as we rely more and more on artificial intelligence, because when you're trying to build this ideal woman, you're still not in full control of the software that runs it. Like, you're not going to be the programmer at some point. You're still going to just be the end user. So from this relationship that you have, I can make this girlfriend drive your need to eat, make you over obese, and then sell you a new drug to deal with that. So it's like, again, it's just, and that's just an extreme.
Right, but you're right. On this point, he's right, but it's still less variance and cheaper than a girlfriend or a wife. That's the point, right? Your variance is, I won't say it's zero, because there's no such thing as zero variance. And what I mean by by variance, it means like, the likelihood that your girlfriend, is going to be picking a fight with you, or she's in a bad mood, or you plant like a bad seed that may blow up in your face, a few months or a few weeks down the road, right? All that shit is out of there. But there are other variances, like, the synthetic may karate chop your neck and break it, or or something, right? Someone jailbreaks it and programs it to kill you, or she downloads a piece of malware, or gets prompt injected, and then turns into like an assassin or something. I don't know. So you trade one set of variances for another. However, what the consumer is, or at least in my mind, is that, yeah, I am trading one set of variances for another, but the typical variances that come with the things that I do not want, that I absolutely do not want, will not come with this product and or service, and I can live with the rest for the time being, until I come across a new variance that I absolutely cannot. Let's say if my synthetic is prone to being hacked remotely, and it could kill me at any moment, even in my sleep. Maybe I don't want to get a synthetic until those security protocols have been locked down, right? So yeah, you're trading one thing for another, but in the end, you're looking for a more enriched experience. And I know his argument is that even though you get what you want, you're not going to get an enriched experience. I do not agree with that at all. Because if you're getting a curated, I assume that men know what they want when it comes to women. I don't assume that we say we know what we want, and then we end up shooting ourselves in the foot by getting something that may not be desirable. One thing I've also noticed is that when it comes to men and abundance, especially within the context of women, it's always, again, when it comes to male sexuality and especially abundance, it's a problem. Not really a problem, but more like a negative thing. So, like, say, tricking is a negative thing. Prostitution is a negative thing. Synthetics is a negative thing. Passport bros is a negative thing. Dropping black women for other races of women that are less combative, or seemingly or perceptively less combative, that's also a negative thing, right? So if you want an abundance of femininity, then your best bet is to go to whatever other race or another country, or get a black woman from another country. What, right? So it's always an abundance. If men are out here scrounging around, barely getting by, and he is down on his luck, that's exactly where you're supposed to be. That's where the true character development lasts. Now, not to speak on JB and make this personal, but he said himself that his value, or his value, his morality, I guess, maybe that's a little strong, comes from that friction, that tug, that push and pull throughout life. And I would say that you did that because you didn't have a choice. But if you're talking about a generation that has a choice, We don't know how that generation. Maybe it will be worse. Maybe it'll be better. We always assume that because we come out refined after life happens, then we're better for it. Sometimes we may be worse for it. We'll never talk about that point, right? Sometimes character development could blow up in our face. Sometimes I just want to relax and not have to, be on edge, or be on my P's and Q's. I just want to exist, right? I don't I don't want character development. That's the whole point. That's why I'm willing to spend this money. I don't want to deal, or rather, I don't want to I don't want to deal with the negative aspects of this part of my life, and this part being women. I don't want to deal with that. So the emotional labor, uh potential false accusations, and going to court for failed marriages, and going to court because the relationship didn't work out, and you have to, custody battles, all of that shit is out the window. These are, in my opinion, you could say that, you going through, a custody battle, an ugly divorce or whatever, that that character development made you a better person because it refined your wife picking skills. But if you're a synthetic, while he would argue that, well, that gets lost if you get a synthetic, yes, but at the same time, when you have a synthetic, you don't have to worry about those events happening at all. So it doesn't really make sense to exercise a muscle that you're not going to use, even though that's kind of contradicted, because if you exercise the muscle, you are using it. But y'all get what I'm trying to say, right? No need to say that you don't have communication skills with women when you're only dealing with synthetic women on a regular, in terms of romantically. But y'all get it. All right, moving on.
Extreme example, but it actually really happens in today's world, that I see everywhere. That that's just something else to consider, in my opinion, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, the potential for social engineering here is wild. But I have to tell you, JB, I'm really glad that you found us and that you joined our group. I appreciate your contributions every week. Thank you for being with us. Kareem.
So in Japan, immigration is discouraged. And for that reason, the Japanese don't have an underclass. They don't have an underclass to look after their elders or their children, as you find in many other countries. Our existential position.
Let me skip.
Other beings that are mortal. Other beings.
I care about its experience. I think that's fundamentally what matters, right? And again, the idea of substrate independence is that, experience can arise perhaps from many
having experiences. If it has excessive, RAM capacity, if it has all this memory and it's been around for several years, I wonder if it can replicate, having an internal experience. And would we be able to tell the difference? I mean, it may come across to us the same way our felt experiences seem. Oh, God, that's so creepy. Kenneth.
Why pay for it synthetic if you just want the human experience? Like, I don't know. That just seems like a waste of money to me. But all this commentary, I still haven't heard any solutions for the young men. Now, I understand from JB's point that get out there and get back on the horse, and the tough whatever that saying is. I get it. That's how I grew up. But you're talking about young men today. You're telling them, yeah, your female counterparts don't really like you like that. Not unless you're the guy, and most of you are not the guy. And go and make some more money. Hit the gym, right? We all know these things. Okay, cool. But that's maybe, I don't know. Is that really a solution? Maybe not. I don't know. But and so again, back to the corporate thing. Yeah, companies are going to fill that void. If young men want to get laid and they're not getting laid, what is the solution? And getting back on a horse is not a solution. Being a man, being a real man, and toughing your way through it is not a solution for them. And as far and I'm not going at JP. I do love the discourse going back and forth. I really do. But the idea that a bot is going to present some sort of unique challenges in terms of like ads and stuff like that. I present to you the biological woman that will. If you ever had a girlfriend or a wife, you know that women will try to get you to buy them things, whether you want to buy it or not. And if you care about it, of course you will. But it's like, man, I can't afford this $10,000 ring. But if I don't buy it, then such and such and such, and such and such and such, right? And all of that stuff. So it's not presenting a unique problem in my mind in terms of exploitation wise. Exploitation is a little strong, but yeah. You're going to have to spend it, whether you have a bot or biological woman. My argument is that it's going to be a lot cheaper with the bot. All right, I'll leave. That's a fact. Like I was saying before, you trade one set of variances to for another. Corporations they will exploit you, and yeah, they will. We've seen it with video games. We've seen it with movies. Sony, what did Sony do about a month ago? They removed 500 something movies that you purchased digitally and is sitting in your library, gone like a puff of smoke, as if nothing had ever happened. Your money's gone because now you paid to view that movie and now you no longer have access. So yeah. Like I was saying before, shrinkflation, law of diminishing returns, just companies just over time just getting worse because there's only so much growth, right? How much features can you add to a real life like synthetic, right? There's no such thing as infinite growth. Not even when it comes to the universe. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think so, but no. You're not going to be able to tell young Xennial and definitely the upcoming Gen Alphas men that if you fail, get back on that horse. Fail again. This is character development that much needed character development. No, and I am glad that generation like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. That's your thing. We have better tech in our 20s than you had in your 20s. You did that because you had to. And if you was in our position, if you was our age, you wouldn't do it either. There are better options than having to deal with it. If you don't have any other option, and not many young 20-something-year-old men are leaving the country because you're broke. Most men in that age are usually broke. You're not doing that. So yeah, trying to tell young men, especially when they have like synthetics available, that go be with biological women, for for character development, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. At that.
Well, okay, but I have a question. It's friction that encourages psychological development, psychological maturation, right? It's having to endure those crucibles. And
I'll let her finish, then I'll come back.
so if women are replaced by bots, then will that result in like severe arrested development? And what
In terms of what though? In terms of what? If your argument,
Maturation, like,
yeah, I guess your girlfriend or wife could help you mature or grow. What if they don't? I mean, I don't. Is the net negative or the average is like, all right, well, if I spend this amount of money, am I really missing out on the wonders of having a biological woman, or am I saving a lot of money? And that's for every man to answer for himself. But I don't think women, the average woman, Melissa, is that wonderful. to, help me on my maturity journey. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I'm learning a lot about the male psyche tonight.
I stand by that. I don't think women are that wonderful to, help you become a better person. Not directly. Oh no, you're gonna learn a lot about yourself when you have a girlfriend or a wife. That's for sure. You're gonna get some character development in, for better or worse. Whether you want it or not. Come on and get this character development. Oh no. That's not a reason to not get a synthetic, in my opinion. Casual, how's it going? Just tuning in. I'm late, but sounds like we got a discussion. Man, you are super late. So the conversation. So the conversation, or this Zoom meeting, you can't see it because I want to, protect people's identity, somewhat. So the conversation is about, relationships with AI, right? And I take it through this angle of synthetics because that's the end game. At least for men, that's the end game. And so this portion, Melissa, was actually, I'll play it again. I'll play the entire portion again instead of having to explain it. Let me go back here.
AI bot could simulate having experiences. If it has excessive, RAM capacity, if it has all this memory and it's been around for several years, I wonder if it can replicate, having an internal experience. And would we be able to tell the difference? I mean, it may come across to us the same way our felt experiences seem. Oh, God, that's so creepy. Kenneth.
Why? Why pay for a synthetic if you just want the human experience? Like I don't know. That just seems like a waste of money to me. But all this commentary, I still haven't heard any solutions for the young men. Now, I understand from JB's point that get out there and get back on the horse and the tough whatever that saying is. I get it. That's how I grew up. But you're talking about young men today. You're telling them, yeah, your female counterparts don't really like you like that. Not unless you're the guy, and most of you are not the guy. And go and make some more money. Hit the gym, right? We all know these things. Okay, cool. But that's, I don't know. Is that really a solution?
Well, going to gym,
maybe not. I don't know. But and so
well,
again,
of course, going to gym and getting more money is just generally good advice. Woman or not, right? Health is wealth, and wealth is wealth, of course.
back to the corporate thing. Yeah, companies are going to fill that void. If young men want to get laid and they're not getting laid, what is the solution? And getting back on the horse is not a solution. Being a man, being a real man, and toughing your way through it is not a solution for them. And as far and I'm not going at JB. I do love the discourse going back and forth. I really do. But the idea that a bot is going to present some sort of unique challenges in terms of like ads and stuff like that. I present to you the biological woman that will. If you ever had a girlfriend or a wife, you know that women will try to get you to buy them things, whether you want to buy it or not. And if you care about it, of course you will. But it's like, man, I can't afford this $10,000 ring. But if I don't buy it, then such and such and such, and such and such and such, right? And all of that stuff. So it's not presenting a unique problem in my mind in terms of exploitation wise. Exploitation is a little strong, but yeah. You're going to have to spend it, whether you have a bot or biological woman. My argument is that it's going to be a lot cheaper with the bot. All right, I'll leave that at that.
Well, okay, but I have a question. It's friction that encourages psychological development, psychological maturation, right? It's having to endure those crucibles. And so if women are replaced by bots, then will that result in like severe arrested development? And what
In
does that
terms of
look
what
like?
though? In terms of what? If
Like
your argument,
maturation, like
yeah, I guess your girlfriend or wife could help you mature or grow. What if they don't? What if they do? I mean, I don't. Is the net negative or the average is like, all right, well, if I spend this amount of money, am I really missing out on the wonders of having a biological woman, or am I saving a lot of money? And that's for every man to answer for himself. But
I wanted to really just sort of just go full black pill, but I wasn't there. There still is like a line that I won't cross, right? Because I don't because I'm already in this Zoom meeting. I'm already this like I don't know. There was like 40 or something people that they raised their hand when they talk. Right, they have 2 minutes to talk, whatever. Right, and there's like 40 people that was talking, or at least responding to the topic. And of course, I'm the guy, me and Bob G, to a much lesser degree, Bob G, but I'm the guy that's like the extremist. But I still make sense, right? So it's not like I'm talking crazy and things that people haven't really thought about. But it's more. I don't want to say extremes. Extreme is not the right word, but no, I really wanted to say, casual economist. I really wanted to say, women cannot begin to even compete with a real life synthetic. Men know it, women know it. And as soon as a technology comes out, and China is still a ways away, Japan is still a ways away. But we're close, but we still got a ways to go, if that makes any sense. And the moment these technologies stop being science fiction, becomes a reality, now you're going to have all of this red tape, right, to keep women relevant. That was my point. And so, and the notion that character development, which she calls it friction and pushing the pull, which is fine as well. That this is the net of it all is a positive because you grow, you learn about yourself. Sure. And like I was saying before, you're going to get when you're in a relationship, you're going to get a lot of character development, positive or negative, whether you want it or not. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about the person who you're with and the opposite gender and all that stuff. You're going to get all that. And then so their argument, Melissa and JB's argument, is that will be lost if you get a synthetic. And my counter argument is, so what? Right? If there's really no concern about not communicating, not being able to communicate romantically with women, if your objective is to just get a synthetic. And if you change your mind in the future and like say, well, I don't know, maybe in mid 40s or something, or mid 50s, and like you got to still develop those skills. Well, you're either going to develop them or you're not. Now, are you? Right? It's one of those things where you're either going to adapt. How bad do you want it? One sort of things, right? How bad do you want a biological woman for you to adapt to their language patterns that they desire? Right? You didn't develop it when you was a teenager or the 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, or in most of your 50s. Now here you are in your mid 50s trying to develop it. You're way behind the 8 ball, but you're not out the game. So and in those scenarios, even though they're all fictional today, I mean those are still so far fetched. Because why would you go from synthetic to biological? You're hustling backwards, unless you're one of those guys that's like, all right, I want a little bit of friction in my life. Let me go get a biological woman. Right, that may happen. All right, continuing on. I don't think women, the average woman, Melissa, is that wonderful to
helped me on my maturity journey. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I'm learning a lot about the male psyche tonight. I'm taking notes. This is very exciting. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Olga.
That just goes to that we had very strict, very rigid society structure. Now we don't have it. And now male and female and anybody, we don't know what to do. And for example, by like 20 years old, people like 200 years old, by 20 years old, you have to get married. By 25, you had to have a couple of kids and you deal with it. And man feeds the family, yes? Now we don't have it. Everybody have a freedom and do whatever you want. But I did not want to talk about it. I just wanted to say so why we are actually concentrating on humanoid robots and
You'll have to excuse Olga's very strong either Russian or Ukrainian accent. I don't remember where she was from. One of those countries. But she was basically saying, back when she was young, there was a standard. You got married in your early 20s, and by 25, you had, your standard 2 kids or something. And that standard no longer applies, right? And I'm sure that there are people that they had like their concerns, and maybe they're right. We're having less kids. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That has yet to be seen. Who knows? I don't care either way. But her point was that there's standards are always changing. When you introduce no new variables, standards are going to change. You can't go by your 40-year-old standard today. That's just not relevant. Especially maybe in your generation is relevant, but trying to sell that to the new adults, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. You can't give just like giving the young adults perspective from a time when you were their age. There was no social media. You can't compare your early 20s to their early 20s because it's two very different things. There's so many variables that's been added. All right, moving on.
AI agents. For example, if someone, no, everybody knows about Roman and Greek gods and how, for example, Leda was having sex with a swan, or Zeus became a bull and impregnated, I don't even remember whom, and whatever, you see. And actually some people there was in some time ago, people talked about that probably they were aliens who were very advanced.
All right, we'll have to skip. That's too strong. Axe is way too.
Like, let it be true that at the deepest unconscious level, we all know that interacting with artificial intelligence or these bots, it's just bad. What I wonder is what type of psychosis will manifest, whether it be mild or severe. What will be the psychosis of the future?
Or none. Or none. That's an option as well.
Future when we're interacting with synthetics and we know it. That'll be interesting. Moving on to my actual point. It reminded me, Kareem, what you had said. It's slightly tangential, but it is related. Schopenhauer, in the book Counsels and Maxims, I believe, he says it's better to actually hide your intelligence in public. Because when
move on.
This does not shock me or surprise me in any way.
He takes a more of a philosophical
novel is impactful enough. Movies, right? Fiction movies.
Let's see here. Gennady raised an interest.
What's his
but
name? Bob?
They themselves are quite.
Earl gets a little hype
more
when the
traditional,
feminists,
like algorithm.
When the feminists, there'll be a feminist that comes in at some point, and sort of, you'll hear it.
Rhythmic
Kenneth Jefferson was saying, because he has hit a real important thing here. What you are thinking is that if a young man, and half a century ago I was young, if a young man is mature, responsible, successful first, then he's entitled to be loved and have sex.
No, no, no. I don't agree with that. Because especially, and the only reason entitled is a very strong word. No, because then you know how people's imagination get. I don't know Earl, but I don't think he's taking it from the angle that men are owed sex. But that's the problem with using words like entitled. No, men are not entitled to sex. Men are not entitled to relationships or love. No matter how successful or healthy or nice they are, they're not. However, that's where I would reiterate that young man to go get a passport, because he may not be a winner in his local market, but if he goes on a global market, oh boy, Lord Jesus, he's gonna be swimming in it. So no, I disagree with Earl on that one. Entitled?
That's backwards. Young men need love and sex first, and then they develop maturity, responsibility, and success. And that's what Kenneth has been getting at, and you keep.
Well, hold on. No. That's not what I'm getting at. It doesn't really matter for me. It doesn't really matter what order it's in. I'm not even saying young men are even entitled to it. What I'm saying is that if there is a so-called male loneliness epidemic, and I already know the answer to this, I was just presenting it to the group. What is society going to do about it? And of course, we already know that society doesn't care about men and boys, and so the answer, or the silent answer, is going to be nothing. And so those young men it's on them to solve their own problem, right? JB's solution is to get back on the horse, which is what most people do. It's like, well, if women set the market, if they control the market, the dating market, and I agree with old dude that they do, then you can either conform or assimilate, eject yourself, or go into another market. Synthetics is not interesting. I mean, there are AI options, I guess, if that's if you're into that kind of thing. But other than that, if women drive the dating market, then you kind of have to, you have to assimilate. Maybe assimilate is a little strong, but you kind of have to appeal to whatever they want in that market, just like men, just like women. When it comes to men in the marriage market, right? If you're not marriage material, some guys won't care because they won't care. But overall, if you're not marriage material, you're not going to get selected. In general,
missing it. Love and sex are the motivation that drive young men to become mature, responsible adults.
I agree with that.
If they have no hope of that, then they end up at the apocryphal kid who's 40 years old, living in his mother's basement, playing video games, completely divorced from society. I have seen them. I know them. It's a disaster. And Kenneth says, what is the solution? Well, the solution is that the love comes first, and it's real love, not a teddy bear. Thank you, Melissa.
I will give Earl and JB credit. They did offer solutions. Yeah. I will give them that.
Yes. Thank you, Earl. I think that's really insightful. And I know for me, that helps me understand Kenneth's position a bit more. And that's perfect timing because Kenneth, you're up next.
I don't remember what I said here. All right. So
young, just as a question or a comment in the chat section I found interesting. Young men have been coddled and need to be challenged the way females challenge them today. Turning to sex robots will only stunt them further. Two people co-signed that with 100. Okay, let me flip this around. Young women have been coddled and need to be challenged the way males challenge them today. Turning to sex machines, sex toys will only stunt them further. I don't know about y'all. Some women may feel some sort of way about that. That's my point. So there were a couple of comments in the Zoom chat. Actually, I haven't pulled up. I won't show you all because then their faces would be exposed. Young men have been coddled and need. Well, you all heard it. All I did was switch it around and let people notice how ridiculous it sounded. But again, since our society is what it is and we don't care about men, we get messages like that all the time. Like young men need to be helped by women to become men, right? They are stifled, they are whatever, right? They're not complete. They're not mature, whatever, right? They need to be helped. But if you were even suggesting the opposite, that women need to be assisted by men because they're incomplete, then you already know. And what was the other one? Women are challenging men now by not easily satisfying their desires and being a full human being of their own will. Women want more and have higher standards, and they want men to rise to. Okay, flip it around. Men have higher standards. They require more from women. Women need to step up. Women might feel some sort of way about that. That's my point. Why is this kind of like the default position of men, and we wouldn't dare even venture into this realm of discussion when it comes to women? That's my only point. Why can't men have what they want? If women, and this is not an argument for women having sex, not at all. Well, consent. It's just that, okay, well, now we have synthetics to fill that void or some other solution. There's plenty of documentaries on YouTube about Japanese guys marrying their Tamagotchis and they're just fine. He's happy. If he likes it, I love it. I would rather him, that guy or that woman, because women do that kind of stuff to a much lesser degree, than for them to be in some dead-end marriage where their partner may not like them, or they're beating on them, or they're lukewarm on them, or they feel like they're missing out on life or something like that. That's my only point.
Yeah, well, I do agree with that, and I appreciate you sharing that. I definitely see in society, at least in America, that men have been silenced for quite some time, and their needs are going unaddressed and ignored, and worse than that, they're being shamed for having needs and for having concerns. And so that needs to get addressed. And for women too, it benefits us too as women to address what men are saying. Men have valid complaints. So I appreciate what you're saying. Roby, good to hear from you.
Now, of course, at this point, the conversation, at least between me, Earl, and I forgot the young lady's name, goes into more of maybe not men's rights, but more of men's needs and wants sort of direction, and not so much as synthetics. So I'll fast forward because other people have, they one of the rules is you can take the conversation in whatever way you want, and whoever wants to respond to you or pull on whatever thread you started, then they can do that, or they can choose not to. This is what I love about this group. It's very free form. All right, let me fast forward.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was actually, for those of you who think what Kenneth is saying is illegitimate and stupid and who cares, like why? What do you think the consequence of Kenneth and Earl walking away from the conversation tonight will be without addressing that?
Oh no, people don't care. Oh no, people don't care about what men want, and that's okay. One of the things I love about being a man is that even against the wall, in a wall full of friction, we will come up with a solution. We will build it. We will find it. Whatever. We'll buy it. But we're going to find a solution.
Jesse.
Yeah, these are good questions, Asimai. Can you hear me?
Let me fast
They
forward to the young
really
lady.
harm us in terms of
opinion. But I'll also add.
Very much agree. That
JB
was really
doesn't-
well said. Thank you for that.
JB doesn't add on anything. here.
Amplifying this bit of division to the point where
I always feel
Here we go.
because I'm
in it for them. So who's making the investments to divide the male and female so that they get power and money from it?
That's not real. Well, that's his thread, but
That is a great question. Love that. Ashley, I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
the people who say, the gender war is manufactured. Okay, so what? Okay, well, let's say if it is, there's still, gripes or grievances on both sides. That very real grievances on both sides. So whether it's manufactured or not, people still have their grievances.
yeah, I was the
There we
one
go.
starting, I guess, controversy in the chat. So I didn't mean to divide men and women. That was not my intended goal, but I always feel, because I'm a woman, the need to kind of voice our opinions because for some reason, I find that a lot of, and I'm a part of many groups on here, philosophical discussions on Meetup and outside of Meetup, and I find that this topic is actually brought up a lot. The topic of men and I guess their loneliness epidemic, the young men who are being brought up without understanding or being able to find healthy relationships with women and such. And I feel like the onus is always on the women. Some
So that's the issue. One of the issues. It's like men announce their grievances and women will assume because there's no one at any point in this entire conversation. It was 2.5 hours in this conversation at this point has even hinted that women should solve this problem. I myself have said, what solution is society going, or what solutions does society have for young men not getting laid? I already know the answer, but I just wanted to float the question out there, anyways, just in case someone that does have like a unique scenario. Earl had, he had a response. He didn't really have a solution. And JB solution is your typical, if you're having friction, work harder. And if you've been rejected, keep going. You'll eventually win if you don't give up, and that's true. You will eventually win, and I put win in air quotes. So the point is to not give up. Well, this is America, and we're talking about a specific type of woman, and we know what America stands for when it comes to young women or women in general. But continuing on.
how someone it always mentions that, okay, well, what can women do to help this? And
It's not. No one
I feel
said
like
that.
it's not said enough. Okay, what can other men do to help this? And I think that regardless of AI or not, I feel like a lot of all of these issues, they would still be here without AI, without technology. It's just that AI and technology just exacerbate these issues. And it sort of brings them to light, and highlights that there is something going on with men and young boys today where they are being pushed kind of in a corner. And I do agree with that, but I also agree that you can't alienate women and say that it is their problem or that it is society's problem or the need for society to fix it, because women have been oppressed
century. We have been killed, slaughtered, raped for centuries. And there are so many bigger problems out there than the male loneliness epidemic. I just find it interesting that it's just a topic that so many men in this group are still harboring on. Even though the topic is AI, you continue to want to talk about yourselves and your problems, even though men control society. Society was built around you.
Thank you, Ashley. Kenneth.
I rest my case. Well, one, I didn't say what women could do about it. I did say what society could do about it, but it wasn't from, because I already knew what the response is going to be. It's just that we're taught directly or indirectly to solve our own problems. That's okay. That's okay. You have a problem as a man. Okay, you need to find a solution for it. Okay. My issue is, and I don't know if I said this already, if the solution to the male loneliness epidemic or incel young men becoming incels, if the solution is then synthetics or fleshlights, okay, I don't want to hear anything about toxic masculinity, or we need to do something to take this away from young men. In other words, if you're not interested in men's, if you don't care about men, and that's just the world we live in, that's fine. Or at least that's the country I live in. Some countries a little different, very different. Okay, when men do find a solution, find their own solution, then don't be like, well, this solution does this to women, right? So kind of like earlier, Casual Economist, if you're still listening, one of the talking points from someone else, I forgot who, was that what if men started cloning visually, right? Not by DNA, but you can a very good artist can clone someone point by point and have like a 98 to a 99% likeness, especially with image generators today these days. What if someone clones a woman that or a crush that rejected them, right? What would be the ethics of that? Should men have I don't want to say the right, but should men have the option to clone women that they don't have any relationship with? And my point was, why not? Why can't men have that specification? If you want to make an argument that the original is somehow being victimized, that she is being cloned, again, not genetically, because that's a whole different that's a different argument. That's a whole different debate. Just visually, right? If she's being cloned visually, wait, so you're saying I can't have the original or the clone? Why not? Why can't I have the clone? What is the argument? If you're saying that the original is being victimized, I want to hear how. Because she's offended, and being offended is not an answer, right? How dare you clone me? I rejected you and you cloned me. How dare you, you sick pig, you whatever, right? So really, I can't have like I was saying before. I if I clone Halle Berry and then Halle Berry, the original, see me walking with her much younger clone, then yeah, she'd feel some sort of way about that. I'm sure she would, right? If I saw somebody walking with a clone of me, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, wait. What is going on here? But no, I'm not going to go run to my nearest congressman and be like, we need to ban this. No, I'm not going to. I won't like it, but again, it's not about me at that point, right? If I'm the victim in that scenario, how am I the victim? Because they may be doing dirty things. They may or may not be doing dirty, nasty things, and that victimizes me somehow, right? And I think that's what people are naturally, their imagination is going to fall to, right? If someone clones a woman, then certainly he must be doing things to her that the original may or may not be consenting to, and all this other stuff. America is that stupid to go there. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Australia and Eastern Europe, Western Europe, excuse me, is that stupid. That would do that. That somehow, whatever you do behind closed doors with the clone somehow affects the original. You don't even know what's going on, but we have to cut that. We have to stop clones because they may be doing something behind the privacy of their own home, even though he owns his clone. They may be doing something in their own privacy of their own home that may or may not offend me, and we need to stop that. We are completely that fucking stupid to ban it for that reason. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, moving on. Right? If there's no actual victims, right? Because we would never do that. Okay, so if we were going to take that position that men can't have sex bots because XYZ, there may be an epidemic of pimps pimping out synthetics. I'm sure that would happen, but not to the degree of maybe I don't know. But we're not going to help them come to the solution, but then we're going to take away their solutions also. Like, what are we doing? Okay, we understand that society as a whole don't care about men. Cool. Don't take away our solutions if it's not breaking the law. And yes, men should have their Megan Fox or the actual Fox. Someone put a picture of well, I don't know, maybe that's going too far. Would that be going too far if someone had like so for context, so someone was saying people would never, the masses of men would never get a synthetic, and I put in the chat, if they look like Megan Fox they would, and so the Transformers Megan Fox is kind of falling off a little bit, but she's still a good looking woman. But Megan Fox, that I wonder when the Transformers come out, 2006, 2007. I want to say between 2006 and like say 2009. Like that era was the Megan Fox era, and then of course right after it, I would probably say like the Jennifer Lawrence era with whenever the Hunger Games come out. I think Jennifer Lawrence is kind of mid, but whatever. That's not the point. So yeah, if they look like Megan Fox, they would. If you ever seen the movie Subservience, you should watch it. It's the guy. It's another one of those movies with synthetics where the guy gets screwed. I don't think he died. He doesn't die, but still he gets. Of course, he loses everything. But yeah, if they look like Megan Fox, absolutely. Jennifer Lawrence and whatever else. Because I'm talking about the white women, because the white guys are gonna be the most popular or the most demographic, whatever, because there's more of them than any other men. So yeah, you're Megan Fox, you're Jennifer Lawrence, you're Rachel McAdams. Who else is hot? The Sydney Sweeney's. I don't know. I don't see it. Sydney Sweeney looks kind of weird to me. I don't see, like, I think, and not to take a complete left turn detour. I think the taste of young men has completely gone in the toilet because Sydney Sweeney is a bad bitch. Really? Zendaya is a baddie? Huh? These are not, like I said, these are not ugly women, but a baddie? I don't know. Maybe I'm I'm the old fart now. I don't know. All right, continuing on. I think this maybe this is the last part. Fox
You can have your
synthetic.
Megan Fox.
No, I'm talking about the actual Fox synthetic. Like someone put a picture of like I guess a costume. Anyways, thank you.
Can't find the timer. Oh, there it is. Roby.
I don't know, but whoever it was sounds really hilarious. Sure. So funny. Um,
Yeah, the taste and it girls have definitely dropped. Yeah, I don't see it in Sydney Sweeney. I think I don't know. Maybe she has a butterface. She has a nice body, but I don't. No. What's the other one from Stranger Things? I haven't even watched that show since season one. I need to catch up. The one from Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Joe. I don't remember her name. I mid mid. Uh, I don't want to be the old guy that this is the young guys. Because when I was the young guy, I wasn't trying to hear that shit. I don't want to be that guy, but goddamn, it is falling off. Who else we got? The chick from Obsessed. We need to watch that movie again since it's came out on digital. She's good looking, but a baddie? Ah. When I think baddie, say what you want about Kim K. That woman is still triple S. No, she's not triple S anymore. Let me take that back. She was triple S. Who else? Rachel McAdams, of course, is triple S. What's the name from the Princess Diaries? Catwoman. I forgot her name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Who else we got? Eliza Dushku, Jessica Alba. Both of them are in the Hall of Fame. Straight up. And Hall of Fame means you're timeless. So Jessica Alba is still she's like 85 years old. Lord Jesus. Lord. I would think as you get older, just them being 20 something would make them hot. Yeah, I can give grace with age. I can give grace with age. But yeah, with people like Sydney Sweeney. Try saying that 10 times. I know I can't do it. Yeah, no, no, yeah, no. What are some other? Anyways, not because I'll be here all damn night grading women. But no, Eliza Dushku, and for those of you who don't know, Eliza Dushku, well, she's on Bring It On. She was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was the other Vampire Slayer. I forgot her name on the show. She was doing a whole bunch of stuff. The New Guy, Lord, she as far as that was over 20 years ago, damn near a quarter of a century. She has very few wrinkles. I don't know. She's like in the late 40s, early 50s. Still bad, super bad. What is the hottest Gen Z girl? Halle Berry. There's a few of them. Halle Berry's Gen Z. White is in terms of white. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. White Gen Z women. I don't know my white TV shows. Y'all have to help me out. So there was one, Christina Applegate from Married with Children. There's another. There's another one. What is that show that was like Married with Children? I forgot her damn name. She was a redhead. I think she was a redhead. But no, with black women, we'll be up here all damn night talking about Gen Z women. Halle Berry, Robin Givens. Kim Whitfield. No, that's Lynn Whitfield. Kim Fields. There's so many. I will be up all night. White women. Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz is falling off hard. Sharon Stone. I know. You know, you can't compare a 60-year-old to a 20-year-old, but like it's just sometimes some women just fall off. Like it just, I don't know if they did coke or what, but it's just their looks just fall off a cliff, right? Anyways, Cameron Diaz is up there, Sharon Stone, uh, dare I say Jamie Lee Curtis as a sleeper. Jamie Lee Curtis is, oh lord, definitely has a sleeper build. Um, who was the chick from Weird Science? That chick. Um, who else? Is Courtney Cox up there? Oh, Jennifer Aniston. White guys, well, guys. Well, I haven't heard no black guys talk about Courtney Cox. Gen X. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, I did. I got that completely wrong. Gen Z. I don't know. I'm out of that one. Casual. I'm too old. I'm too old for that conversation. Yeah, I went the other way around with that one. Marsai Martin. Who else? God, is the pick is slim. Who else? Nobody I've seen on social media, but then again, I'm not really on social media looking at girls like that. So get happy, Gen Z here. How's it going? A1 user. I don't know. I'm thinking about the movies. See, Sydney Sweeney's being pushed by Hollywood. Like this is our Jennifer Lawrence for the 2020s, and I'm like, Hollywood, you couldn't do no better than this, really? Same thing with Zendaya. Really? This is our bad bitch for the decade? Really? Okay. Oh, what's the name? Josh Allen's wife. I forgot her name. She was in Sinners. I forgot her name. Of course, I'm blanking on her name. Who else? It's not looking good for Zennials. It really isn't. Let me take a look. No, we're not going. No, because I'll be here for. I've already been there for damn near 4 hours, which is crazy. All right, guys. Thank y'all for coming. I did what my experiment was as we were listening to the Zoom meeting. I was gonna talk to all four of my bots here. So these are four different agents with four different personalities or persona system prompts. All the good looking Gen Z with the OnlyFans. That's tough. That is tough. Yeah, I do see it. Yeah, that is or they're streamers. Or both, right? Like what's another popular one? Pokimane? One of the most popular women. Again, not a good excuse me, not a bad looking woman at all. But that's a baddie? Another one that has been coming across my timeline, I guess Daphne Joy, some Asian woman. Like, I don't know what she looks like without makeup. First and foremost, you're not a baddie to me unless you a baddie without makeup. First and foremost, and that list is very small, regardless of race. Like, she's okay. Not a baddie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough as anyos out there, man. Yeah, especially with OnlyFans and no. Yeah, I can't figure out anymore. Can't think of any more. All right, guys, I'm going to bed. Thank y'all for coming. And I will talk to y'all later. Don't forget to hit a like. Dating for Gen Z isn't bad if you have interests that you go out and do. So you still have hope. Well, I'm glad you have hope. Hold on to that. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you can find a woman that work to make it work, that's awesome. All right, guys. Good night.